What's going on, everyone? Welcome to the Season Gaming Bitcast, episode 265. I am your host, Ainsley Bowden, and we are back with another glorious Sunday talking video games, and we have a lot of games to talk about today, so be a nice big show. I love chat's already blaming Travis for things, so it's going to be a good day. That's just how you got to start your Sunday off. Travis, looking like the dapper...
puppet.
I think he's doing a puppet face
to get us going. What's going on, my friend?
We get to talk about video games, Daddy Ains.
Whoa, no.
Do it.
Let's start over.
Please don't send your cat to Daddy Ains.
Take two.
Yeah, don't ever say that again.
I was trying to be a puppet. What are you? I'm a real boy.
You could do that. Just that the Daddy Ains. Yeah.
Can't call you Daddy Ains. All right.
No,
well,
please
that's
don't.
not
Definitely don't make that a hashtag, everyone.
Yes, there we go. Same mind. Definitely don't call it Daddy Ains.
Oh man, you doing all right? Good.
I'm doing good, man. Yeah, I've been playing a lot of video games, keeping busy, and it's my usual life. Nothing different, for better or worse. I'm a game goblin. For better or worse.
Nothing wrong with that. Nothing wrong with that. Mr. Rodriguez wearing the Mythic Crew shirt this morning. How we rocking?
Mythical Crew.
Mythical
good,
Crew,
man.
sorry.
Yeah. Ready for some more football later? Whatever it might be. Just want to take a second to shout out all the streaming services that like to get together, because I'm pretty sure all these CEOs, get together a couple times a year. And they're like, hey, how can we screw these guys over and make them pay even more money? Why don't you take that game? You take that conference. I'll take this conference, but I want a couple games out of that conference. And then we're going to charge everybody $15 to $20 just to watch one game that week, and then they won't use it the rest of the year. It's great. It's great. So thank you.
The only thing you got wrong there is it's just talking about you, Dan. It's not these guys. It's just how can we make Dan spend more money?
It's insane. It's insane. And then you go to a game and you say, okay, watch it on ESPN Plus. Well, I have ESPN Plus. That's fantastic. I think I'll go watch it.
Do you have to watch it?
Yeah, and it's like, oh, but you have to sign into your service provider. Well, then I can't watch it on ESPN Plus. I can watch cricket. All right. I can watch water polo or Holy Cross versus Colgate. I don't even know who that is. So,
sure.
Thanks, ESPN, and your trash service. So that's mine.
That's what you get when Disney.
Today's episode, ESPN.
And owned by Disney, like everything else in the world. Fair enough. I will invite you to watch the Superior Sport anyway, if you'd like to come watch NHL, and we can go from there. But anyway, Mr. Hoeg himself, the Hogo Cop, is back. He is the law, and he is here to talk about games. How we doing, brother?
I'm good. I'm excited. I'm ready to talk. We did a virtual legality this week.
I saw.
Nice.
We did a Hangouts and Headlines. We're getting back to it. Still a little bit trying to figure out what the schedule is going to be long term, but if you like virtual legality, you like Hangouts and Headlines, you like me, I'm very sorry for you. But you can come see more of me on the hoeglaw YouTube channel. So we're doing a lot more than we used to.
Nice.
More Hangouts, fewer headlines. Brought to you by... I don't know. Yeah, I was going to say something inappropriate. Leave it at that.
By the way, Hoeg, I liked that last week. You said, "Yeah, we're gonna start with once a week and see how that goes." And then I saw you twice last week, and I'm like, "Look, he's already breaking his once a week word here."
I said Hangouts and Headlines once a week, and I held to that even when I didn't want to. But I did get a virtual legality in there because all hell broke loose in Engine Land.
In Engine Land, Unity.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, it's a mess.
Honestly, one a week would be a good name for a show. One word, one a weeks. If you do one show a week. Anyway, just throwing that out there. I'll do a one a week show.
One a week show. Oh man. Well, today we're going to be talking about multiple game reviews, actually, including Liza P, which Travis can finally talk about. I know Hoeg's playing as well. We've got Crew Motorfest, which I reviewed. I know Hoeg's playing as well. We've got Mortal Kombat 1, which reviews are out for. I think multiple of us are playing that as well. And then other games, we had a PlayStation State of Play. We had a Nintendo Direct. we have the Tokyo Game Show coming up this next weekend. So quite a bit to talk about today. Obviously, before we get to that, we've got a couple things to get to, including early super chats and memberships. But I want to thank everyone again because last week's show really high on the engagement, tons of views and clicks, views and listens, and just super appreciative of that again. So I've had a lot of new people. Yeah, for real. We've had a lot of new people like commenting for the clicks. Yes.
Why we do it for the clicks, baby?
Yeah, we're totally controversial. In all seriousness, if you are tired of the circus that is gaming Twitter and some of the other shows out there, and would rather just hang out with us and talk about games, people who actually like games and kind of play on all platforms, here we are. You're welcome to hang out with us. We have a good time. Our audience here on both channels is amazing, and we just have fun. What's that?
This isn't a circus?
Sometimes it is. Yeah.
Why have I been practicing juggling for like 6 months?
I don't know.
I thought that was to impress a lady.
That's how you got D, isn't it?
Wow, that would be really scary if that worked as a pickup method. Hey, you ever seen a guy juggle? Yeah,
I'm not sure if it says more about her or you.
Especially me. If I'm juggling, something's gone real wrong.
You're overselling it now, Travis. I only believe it more.
Yeah.
Oh man.
Okay, here's a question. Can I ask a random question before we jump in?
Sure.
If you had to be employed by a circus, what would each of us do on the panel? What would be our talent?
I would probably clean up elephant shit. That'd be me. It'd be old grizzled guy with like.
And Hogue would be the defense. All right, now we're cooking.
No, I'd want to have one of those acts where you like balance a bunch of chairs on each other and you stand at the top. I always liked that when I was a kid.
Yeah.
Hogue's gonna stand on a bunch of chairs stacked on one another.
Heck yeah. I mean, that's pretty cool. Like they're all stacked up like a Dr. Seuss story.
Yeah.
Yeah. That'd be good. I like that. I could see Hogue doing that. Ains, what would you do?
I would probably be working the spreadsheet of what city we're going to go to next because I have no talent in the actual circus.
The answer is either one of those large, greased up, mustachioed, weight guys. You know those dudes.
The weight guys.
The weight guys. Or lion tamer. Hogue is also the lion. He's the lion and the elephant. He's a very talented man, and he stands on chairs.
If I was the lion tamer, you and Hogue would both be lions. I'd be trying to keep you under control because that's pretty much what goes on.
Each other. This is no longer a circus. Now it is a dog fight with lions. It's very illegal. All right. Well, anyway,
we gotta get some of that Calliope music for the intro.
Yeah.
I think I've already locked myself into juggling, but if it's not too late, I'd like to change to, I don't know. I want to be one of those, like the people that, I guess the announcer. I want to be that guy. He seems like he's having the most fun. He gets to just like shout out all the acts names. And
he's just a hype man.
He has like a hat on, and he does like, I would just want to do that part. That seems fun. Or bearded lady. Anyway.
Bearded lady. Right. Yeah, that's a good one.
Sorry,
that's a good one. All right. I didn't expect that at the start. But yeah. Well, we might as well just go right into this because we got a shout out again against the tide for rocking us with these new AI images of the week. It's become a weekly ritual. And because we're talking about Liza P, here are the guys of P this week, which I can't tell if it's hilarious, creepy, or both. I think it's both.
We're Hogue, at the bottom there.
Hogue, I especially like that you look like a doll of like Harold Ramis for some reason.
Yeah, Hogue's doll looks like one of those creepy pasta images on the internet that like is cursed image.
We could sell these to A24.
I look like a vendor in Liza P for sure. I'm gonna sell him something.
Ties like a clean up elephant shit at a carnival.
Look like a Liza P character there.
What the hell are in my pockets?
Yeah, why are your arms so short, Dan? This is the real question. They're disproportionately short. And then Ains looks like he's doing like a dance, like he's like an NSYNC dancer. Very bizarre.
I've lost it already.
James.
We just started. I'm
it.
sorry. Oh man, it's good stuff, Ty. Thank you so much, and thank you as always for the promotion and helping us with the show. It is very appreciated. So,
Wow.
All right,
Did you
and
guys
of
play
course,
Ties of Tea.
Ties
you
of
play
Tea.
What'd you do?
And here we go. We got to start with we've actually got a couple things to start with from super chats, but of course, Googleman will kick us off.
Googleman, as always, coming in with the €5, still trying to reach the unity in Starfield. Feels like everything's pretty unreal at times. Are Twizzlers better than Red Vines?
No,
Umbrella.
No, Red Vines are goated.
Red Vines are
You
better.
guys are ridiculous.
Nope, I'm gonna
Some
go Red
people
Vines
like
too, Dan.
Twizzlers, and those are the
Oh.
weirdos. They're the weirdos.
Listen,
Yeah.
Dan, Twizzlers are like they're plastic. Like they don't
Yes.
even taste like anything.
they're delicious.
Wow.
I'm
Red
gonna go
Red Vines leave like a weird coating in your mouth, and they're too sweet, and that's coming from a fat guy. So I'm just saying, they're not great.
All right, that's it.
Guy.
We're
As long
going
as they're
poll.
fresh.
We're going
But as
poll
soon as
on this one.
As soon as you open a Twizzler,
Yeah, I
you
don't
have like
think Twizzlers
5
has
minutes
a
to eat
chance
it.
in a poll. That's
No.
crazy.
Yeah.
The Red
We're
Vines
doing
are
it.
better.
Red
Vines are
are
better.
no, for sure.
do it.
Polls coming up on the season gaming side. Twitters or Red Vines. We got to settle this before we start.
I mean,
Why did I literally just typed Twitters in the poll.
Twitters or Red
Red
Vines.
Vines are
I
better
think
than
Red
Twitter
Vines.
as well.
Red Vines is way better than Twitter.
Yeah, I'll give you that.
Yeah.
No problem.
Red Vines is never in my DMs telling me to kill myself. So point Red Vines.
Oh, we're
Red Vines corporate.
this
That would be
has
crazy.
been
Red Vines corporate hitting me up in my DMs. Jesus, Red Vines, what did I do?
Oh my god, this has been a start to a Bitcast this week. All right, Googleman, thank you so much, man. As always, for the super chat. We got Arctic Wolf in the house as well.
Nice. Did Travis? I'm sorry, $4.99. Was that pounds? Yeah,
Pounds.
Did Travis craft a glitch D2 gun? Also, do you dunk your biscuits in the USA?
Biscuits
about
would probably
Travis.
represent cookies here.
I can answer both of these. I did not craft a glitched gun in D2, although I have been really, really enjoying the chaos that is unfolded by their recent game-breaking glitch. And yes, we dunk our cookies in the USA in milk.
I dunk my biscuits in
Dunk our
gravy.
biscuits.
Right,
Sometimes-
big old
Biscuits
bowl
are
of gravy.
different here. Biscuits are
but
very different.
Here's the point: no matter what your definition of biscuits is, Americans be dunking it in something. You know what I mean?
Damn right we are.
Yeah,
We pretty
We're
much
big-
dunk everything.
big dunkers here.
By the way, shout out to Ardo on the Hogue side. He says no, actual black licorice is the correct answer, which he's right.
Whoa,
It's true. Very true.
black licorice? Really?
Oh yeah, not American
Hor-
black licorice.
horrifying.
Like Finnish. It's really good. Arctic Wolf had a second super chat. Thank you, Arctic Wolf. But he has a second super chat as well. He or she, excuse me.
With the $1.99, or I'm sorry, 199 pounds. How do you say that?
Quid. You can say quid too. Is probably the easiest way.
Yeah, quids.
Quids.
Bought all these Maxwell, so I'm blaming Ames.
It's Odyssey. Odyssey.
Okay. Odyssey.
Yeah, nice, Arctic. Yeah, they're fantastic, man. I was actually just playing Cyberpunk this morning with them and last night. They are, I hope you enjoy them. They are incredible headset. And I am actually now an affiliate with Odyssey. Actually, just this week, I became an affiliate with Odyssey. So hopefully I'll be able to share more of their products in the future. So thank you for the super chats. We've got another super chat from Mr. Tao.
Tao with $5 super chat, or the 5 quid, as we say it here in America. Sup, Bitcasters. Play Armored Core 6.
everywhere.
I hate Starscream. No spoilers, but you will figure it out. Have a great Sunday.
Starscream was always the worst anyway, so it just fits that he's the worst in Armored Core 6. I haven't played any more Armored Core 6 only because I have other things I've had to play. But I know I've talked to a few people who have finished it over the past couple weeks. All of them rave about it, including Zach, who reviewed it for us. They adore the game, so good to hear. Tal, thank you as always for hanging out with us. We've got a member comment from Mr. Older Gamer. He says, I'll just take the member comments, Dan. He says, the Crew Motorfest is an absolute blast, and this Bitcast is the way to start our Sundays. What's up, fellas? What's happening, brother? Go Kings go. We're getting ready for hockey season. And yes, Motorfest is really good. We're going to be talking about that shortly. So thank you for the super chats. And of course, Vintage Willow is here this morning. She has been super chatting us actually post show because she hasn't been able to hang out with us. She's here hanging out with us and has gifted 10 memberships on the season gaming side, which is hugely, hugely appreciated, as I always say. So thank you so much for that, Willow. Love having you here with us live this morning. All right. We're 20 minutes in. I guess we should talk about games at some point. We might try it just to see what happens. I don't know what I'm hitting right now. There we go. Too many buttons as always. All right. So let's go ahead and start with some of these games we've been playing, which of course leads into reviews as well. So Travis, since I've been talking a lot here, I'm going to push over to you to start with your Lies of P review, because you have actually been playing this for 3-4 weeks now. The game comes out Tuesday on Game Pass. The digital deluxe is out now. So I know
on this, Travis.
Yes.
So you gave it sorry. Go ahead.
Yeah, I gave it an 8 out of 10, which at IGN means great. It is a fantastic Souls-like. I've played through it 2 times now with 2 different types of builds, and also done a different testing, played through New Game Plus and all that. And my impressions are, first, you can see me talk a whole lot more about it with the guys at Beyond for IGN's PlayStation podcast with Brian Altano and Max Scoville. We did a show last week that I had a lot of fun hanging out with those guys.
Great guys, by the way.
They're awesome dudes. They're amazing. They're it was great to hang out with them.
Is that his real name, by the way? Is that like Max Scoville?
Max Scoville? Yeah.
That's his real name. Yeah.
That's awesome. Yeah. That's an awesome
both
name.
of their real names. Yeah. But the kind of headlines about Lies of P that I think it deserves praise for are it's probably the first like proper Souls-like, because I mean, you could say Jedi Survivor and Jedi Outcast not Jedi Outcast, Fallen Order. Got my Star Wars games confused. You could say that those 2 games are Souls-like, you know what I mean? Like they're very light games. This is the first like proper Souls-like that has a good story. Really like the story and world building that they did there. It has some really cool new ideas with weapon crafting, although it doesn't really add a whole lot new to the genre. The stuff that it tries largely succeeds, and it's got just a really cool world, and all the other stuff that you'd expect from Souls-like games, like cool difficult boss fights and that sort of stuff. And is really cool. The stuff that it doesn't do so well, it certainly does the Souls-like formula to the letter, and so it doesn't do a ton that's new. It basically just follows the blueprint before it, but it does execute that blueprint really, really well. And yeah, I had a ton of fun with it. I've already kind of put it down at this point because, as you mentioned, Ains, I've had it for a while and was able to play through it multiple times before it even came out, which was really cool. Nice to have that padding. And also, I just want to give a shout out to NeoWiz, which is a small kind of newer studio in South Korea. They also made a game I reviewed last year or the year before, Skull Hero Slayer, which was a roguelike that I really enjoyed. And I would also recommend that game because I had a ton of fun with that one. So
it's
kind of
skull, like on your head?
Yeah. Skull Hero Slayer. And that's a roguelite type game that also has was also really good. I think I gave that game an 8 or 9 as well. So clearly the studio is good at making games, and they're newer, and I think they deserve praise because they're definitely one I'm going to keep my eye on going forward.
Nice.
So yeah, if you have not played it and you're a Souls-like fan, definitely play it.
I mean, I'm going to sit here and say I've enjoyed Lies of P more than the FromSoft original Soulsborne type games. So make of that what you will. I'm not the biggest fan of the genre, so I'm like not at the top edge of dexterity or ability in these things, but it's got a world that's interesting to be in, and it's got a kind of motivated push that I don't always get from the From Software games, and I just think it's really cool. I like things that translate other stories. I like board games that have to figure out how to make a book into a board game. This takes a fable or a fairy tale and does some weird things with it in terms of making the puppets into kind of automaton robots and taking a kind of Bloodborne approach to environmental aesthetic and still giving you an interesting game to play and story to follow. So it's a lot of fun. I was surprised at how much I like this one.
Yeah, it's cool. And if you are like Hoeg and you want to play for the story, the good news is the build that Hoeg is using, his Motivity build, does allow for a little bit more slack, because using big weapons that stagger the enemy is advantageous. And then if you are a like sweaty tryhard who loves pain, you can play with the technique build that requires you to get good like Sekiro and perfect parry every attack in order to beat bosses. And that's how I played the game my first playthrough. And
I had one perfect parry in 3 hours.
There you go. Yeah, so you don't really need perfect parry with Motivity, because you can block, unlike in a game like Bloodborne, and blocking absorbs like 60 to 70% of the damage depending on which weapon you're using. If you're using a technique build, your blocking blocks 20% of the damage, and you can just die blocking like really easily, and so you just basically have to perfect parry. And so if you're the type of person who wants a challenge, I think this game manages to provide both. I don't think that difference in difficulty is intentional, though, which I think is a fair criticism against the game, that it is a little imbalanced, but it does essentially give like a way for everybody to beat it, which I think is kind of cool.
So you mentioned,
but, come back to me. We'll see.
Yeah, we'll see. How far are you, Hoki? I'm sure you got through.
I'm past the early museum stuff.
Oh, okay.
I don't know if it's a museum exactly. I'm past the first exhibition area and into the
talking about the factory, Vanini's puppet factory, that area. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. That's cool. Cool.
You mentioned about perfect pairing or blocking, but you also mentioned, I believe, offline around how the dodge doesn't really have iframes the same way as Souls games.
Yeah, it has some iframe. Yeah, it has some iframes, but it's way less useful. And there are many attacks where the boss or just regular enemy will glow red, and you cannot block or dodge the attack. So if you are at all within range, you will get hit, even if you're dodging and you should be in your normal like iframe range, you'll just get hit anyway. And so it does force you to perfect parry to get rid of those, and enemies increasingly use like red attacks later on in the campaign, more and more. But you can, if you're a Motivity build, you can afford to get hit by the odd red attack and then still mostly block most of the attacks, because they have a mechanic called guard regain, where when you block an attack, you won't take a certain percentage of the damage. If it's Motivity, you'll not take most of it if you're carrying like a big weapon. And then the rest of it you will take in chip damage that can be regained back by attacking the enemy, similar to Bloodborne, except for it's a defined amount of the health that you regain rather than just all of it. And that definitely allows people who are just like blocking to play aggressively and get through encounters without like becoming god tier at the encounter or whatever. However, if your guard regain is this much and you're taking 80% damage from blocks, it's not really an option. And so with dodge being fairly unreliable and blocking not really being useful to you, you basically just have to play it like Sekiro. Like you just have to perfect parry. And then when they get staggered, hit them and then do your fatal attack from the front and all that stuff. And
the stagger attacks are fun.
Stagger attacks are super cool. Yeah.
Okay.
But yeah, I think one of the coolest things it does is weapon crafting, which is totally new to the Souls-like genre. And basically what it does is anytime you find a weapon, you can disassemble it and turn it into two parts, a handle and a blade. And then you can mix and match the handles and blades to create Frankenstein monster weapons that don't make any sense. So you could take like a dexterity, or what's called technique in this game, handle the rapier, and then attach it to a giant like bone saw Motivity weapon, and then you'll use that bone saw like a stabbing weapon with dexterity. And that allows you to do things like block with a dex weapon and absorb most of the damage. But my experience playing around with that is that it's really not the most efficient way to do it, because you kind of lose the disadvantages of being a technique build if you're not like striking quickly and moving as quickly, which you definitely do if you attach a big blade to it. And then also later in the game, you get boss weapons, which are easily the best weapons in the game, and those cannot be crafted. And so it kind of like shoehorns you if you want to use the best weapons. If you're trying to, use all the advantages afforded to you, then you kind of have to use those signature weapons, which can't really be modded all too much. You can mod their stats up and down, like scaling. You can get like S tier scaling on a weapon, that sort of stuff. That mechanic is in this game as well from other Souls likes. But yeah, it's a really good game. I'm still waiting for people to finish it so I can talk about the ending because I have no one to talk about the ending with. But it's a pretty cool game. No multiplayer, surprising. No PvP or co-op at all, which is interesting. So
I did see that. I think maybe it, from a development standpoint, right, it just made sense to focus on crafting a good game rather than worrying about additions like that. But I did read that it has like evolving endings, like it has New Game Plus, and then it has like a second ending and like other things to it. It has
3 endings, and there's basically right off the bat there's a bad ending and a good ending. The bad and good ending, so far as I can tell, is just a decision. You make a decision at the end and you can kind of get the good ending, but I think there might be some requirements. There's a few things at play, and like Souls-like games, they don't really explain what those mechanics are doing, but there's one mechanic where you're trying to see how much of a liar you are, and there's a way to tell how many fibs you've told versus how truthful you've been. But the game sort of presents lying as morally gray. Like if you lie, like some characters are like, yeah, you should lie. Sometimes it's a nice thing to do. Like, don't like be a dick. Like sometimes a white lie is good. So there's like a weird meter that tells how much you lie that I think has some effect on the game, but I haven't really gotten into it. The wiki guys are diving into what that means, but I didn't really focus on it. And then the second mechanic is how human you are. And you kind of make decisions that determine whether you're more robotic or more human. And you can do things to make yourself more human, like listen to music in the game. You find collectible records that you can listen to when you're at the base camp, and they like make you more human. And then sometimes you'll make decisions that are very clearly like, okay, this is me deciding I'm a puppet versus deciding I'm a real boy. And so there's that kind of thing. And I think some of that is playing in the background to determine which endings or which events you have access to. But I was able to just like go through the game without thinking about that too much. And then I got to the end and I got the good outcome by sort of getting to make the decision. So I don't think they play too much into that. And then there is a special ending that I won't spoil for anybody, but it is out there. And yeah, I guess we should mention, in case we didn't mention this game is a Pinocchio story. I don't think we.
Yeah, I don't know how people miss that, but
yeah, a lot of folks that don't realize we're saying lies, as in the opposite of truth, of the preposition, the letter P for Pinocchio.
Yeah.
So I get a lot of people asking, what game is Eliza P? That kind of thing.
It is a dark and twisted retelling of the original Adventures of Pinocchio story, told as a Souls-like. So the way Brian Altano put it is it's Pinocchio by way of Bloodborne, which is a great description of it. That's basically how it's told.
That is what it
so
is.
It does have some cool like references to the original book, and the characters that you meet you're not meeting like animals, but you're meeting humanoids that are wearing masks that are clearly representing those roles in the game. And so it definitely has some neat nods to the original story.
Oh yeah, right from the beginning. You got Blue Fairy, you got all sorts of stuff.
Yeah, Turquoise Fairy. I think she's in the book. Turquoise Fairy. Yeah.
I couldn't tell you. I cannot pretend to be familiar with the original Pinocchio book.
I read it for this review.
I like it. Thorough.
Did you get like 93% robot by the end?
No, I did not.
I'm guessing.
I went for real boy, so I was sometimes making decisions that I was like, really? Really, game? You think this is what a good person would do? But yeah, because for those who don't know, I tend to be a robotic person, and so yeah, I'm not a real boy in real life, I guess.
I think it's very good. I think my expectations were that it would be a little bit clunkier than it is. It's actually really solid.
Nice.
Rob Frawley's asking, did Travis create the poll options in the middle of his IGN review? Yes, I create all those polls when it's my review. So, yeah, which children's tale should be turned into a Grizzly Souls-like next? Great question. Alice in Wonderland would be my vote.
Red Riding
Dark,
Hood.
Creepy. Red Riding Hood would also be great. Yeah, a good one.
I will take solid Souls-likes on Children's Tale all day long. Like,
yeah,
go ahead and continue making.
You could open a company with that idea, man.
Yeah,
totally.
No doubt. I haven't started playing this yet. I've got other stuff I'm working on, but I'm very excited to dive into this soon once I get through some other things. So yeah, I was been looking forward to this one for a long time, and I think like you, Hogue, I was kind of concerned it was going to be Souls-like, but we've seen a lot of Souls-likes, right? And very few of them have a kind of fully polished feel and good story, as Travis said, and things like that. So the fact that this does has me really excited, and that's of course before we get Lords of Fallen soon, next month.
No, it straight up feels the original recipe. Like if you didn't look at who made the thing, I don't know that you would know.
Yeah, it's awesome. It's awesome.
It's really cool.
Yeah, I played the demo, but obviously that was only a small chunk. So yeah, pumped. Dan, you jumping in this one? You gonna try it?
I tried the demo when it came out, and that was it. Lasted about 5 minutes, and I said no thanks.
Like always.
No go for Dan. No.
All right.
I've always loved that kind of, robots in life, and they take the sci-fi side, and it's almost got a bit of a BioShock feel to it on top of Bloodborne.
The steampunk, light steampunk stuff that is a little BioShocky, yeah.
Okay. All right, cool. Well, that is Lies of P. Like I said, it's on Game Pass and out for normal release on Tuesday. If you buy the digital deluxe, it's out now. And you can read Travis's review. We did not review that one, actually. So you can read Travis's review over at IGN. I'm going to jump over to the Crew Motorfest, which is the review I did this week, which is Ubisoft's third iteration of the Crew IP, which if you're not familiar with the Crew, it's racing game, kind of arcade style, if you will, racing game, but with sim elements. And obviously with Motorfest, I know we talked about this before, but they've kind of gone down the Horizon route, the most apt and easiest comparison, which I think some people playing it are making too many assumptions about, is that it is Forza, like poor man's Forza Horizon, which is I think it's true to a couple points, but also I think it's a little bit shallow to call it that. So this game really surprised me. I gave this game an 8.5, and I think it's sitting at like low 80s on the Open Critic scale right now. I'm right in that range. The more you play this game, the more it kind of shows its own identity and starts to separate itself from Forza Horizon. And I really enjoyed it. I would say, I know Hogan, you're playing it too, and we were talking offline about this, but it does some things that are unique. It does some things very, very well, and it doesn't hit the same kind of highs on the car side as Forza Horizon, and some of the presentation, some of the feel of the cars, the tuning. There's things it doesn't do as well, but it does have a fantastic representation of Oahu, the island of Hawaii, or in Hawaii, of Hawaii. And it allows you to play with cars, bikes, boats, and planes. And you can do all of that in kind of real time. So, you can be racing down the street, and you can immediately, in real time, switch to a plane, take off into the air, and then you can switch to a boat and drop in the water. And it just allows this really kind of free-flowing exploration of the island, which is obviously filled with all kinds of different activities and things to find. So if you're someone who really kind of likes Horizon, particularly the parts of just exploring around and doing your own thing, it does that extremely well. I would say that the actual racing, like if you're looking for a racing game, I actually say in my review that it's weird to say out loud, but the racing is probably the worst part of the racing game. It's just not very intuitive. The AI is pretty dated. It's just like race. The first guy up front's really quick. Once you pass him, you're going to win, and it's pretty straightforward. But
that thing you're right when you're first place, they're all really close behind you, but never pass you. That thing.
Yeah, and it's very predictable in that way. But the other elements which I really love were the kind of the integrated kind of history lessons about famous car brands like Porsche, Lamborghini. It has Mustang, has a few others right now. And then it also does these kind of car culture integrations, I say, which is like Liberty Walk, which most people watching probably aren't familiar with all these things.
Is that something you knew about before this game? Because that was news to me.
Well, I'm in car world, so yeah.
Car guy.
Yeah, Liberty Walk is a famous Japanese tuner who got famous many years ago now for making these outrageous body kits, basically starting with 911s and some Japanese tuner cars, and they're just over the top looking crazy, and he's gotten famous. There's Supercar Blondie in there, who is a woman who just checks out all the craziest supercars, and I think Donut Media is
they have
in
a
there
couple
as well.
playlists that are almost like YouTube channels.
Yeah, pretty much. But it's very well integrated, right? Like the UI, UX design, it's a very holistic experience. And I'm super impressed with how everything comes together when you're playing it. So it's you
so-
can read my review. And it's I really enjoyed it. And you can play. Sorry, Hogue. You can play 5 hours for free. So Ubisoft, I think, knows it's a very hot time for games right now, and they don't want this one to go by the wayside. So you can download this, play 5 hours for free, and check it out. I highly recommend it, especially if you enjoy those open world kind of CarPGs, as we joke.
Yeah, no, it's definitely a CarPG, and that's what the Crew was to start, right? The Crew has had a really weird kind of metamorphosis.
Yes.
The original Crew is called the Crew because you were kind of in a story about doing heists and being a part of a criminal empire, and they had a map that was a version of the whole United States, obviously smaller in terms of how long it takes to get to places, but kind of represented Detroit and Miami and St. Louis, and you could go to these various things and get a feel for the location. And I really liked the Crew 1. Then the Crew 2 said people didn't buy the Crew 1, and they kind of made we're just going to focus on racing and give you that kind of dynamic change between a car, a boat, and a plane, which they then brought over to this Horizon-like in Motorfest. And it wouldn't surprise me, honestly, I was playing this. I agree with you, this is a very good game. It wouldn't surprise me if Motorfest becomes the name of the series, like Horizon did, right? I don't think we really think of it as Forza Horizon so much as Horizon, unless you're separating it from the dinosaur killing game. So I expect Motorfest to be where they take this in the future because it's a really nice fit for the Horizon model. But what I really like about this, as you suggested, is that they have much more focused kind of, they call them playlists, right? And the whole UI in Motorfest is set up like you're watching it on Netflix. So if you go to the playlist, you select a playlist, it has an opening video, and then it has episodes below it, which are the different races in a playlist. And it even has a red bar when you finish them. And it's a whole thing with their UI. But it really does things with the playlists that are a little bit unusual. Like one will have announcers like you're watching it on NBC or something. And one will have just in the vintage car selection, it'll have different color filters that it puts on with different music to represent the 50s, 60s, and 70s and 80s. And just really cool ideas that don't come across as strongly in Horizon. But I do agree with you on the racing. My biggest problem with the game is that I think the AI is pretty random. That I've had races where I play it 5 times and they just go flying past me and there's no hope that I ever have. And then I play it the next time and I'm just ahead by 20 seconds. And I haven't been able to solve that. And also the way the playlists are designed, you're often borrowing cars. So a lot of the CarPG fun that you get in the Crew where you're taking the loot that you find, right? Because it really is loot.
Yes.
That you get out of crates and things that you find in the island. And it'll have rarities like rare and epic and whatnot. You put the loot in your car and then you get certain aspects of either treasure finding or drifting or driving that help you out. But for the most part, because the playlists are so defined, you're borrowing cars unless you have bought everything that you need for that playlist already. So it's not perfect. I don't like it quite as much as you, I don't think, Ains, but I think it's a very good game if you like racing, if you like driving things around. Hawaii is very pretty, and they'd have some of the party in a box stuff that I like in Horizon. I know I complained to you about this separately, Ains, but they don't have DJs. They don't have people talking to you on the radio about like, oh, this crazy Horizon Festival or this crazy Motorfest. And that actually was not something I thought I would care about. But after a while, it takes away a little bit of that kind of party, fun, festival atmosphere. And I would have added them if I were in Ubisoft's shoes.
Yeah, I actually credited you in my review. I said thanks to Mr. Hogue for calling this to my attention because I didn't notice it as much as you, but after you pointed it out, I did. So yeah, I think that's a good call out. They have the whole radio stations, and there's actually more. I think there's more radio stations in this versus Horizon, like 8 to 6 or something like that. I believe. And but yeah, it's good. Like I said, it surprised me. I didn't expect to like it as much as I did. I think Ubisoft very clearly knows, like I said, how tough of a time it is for release right now. But it also is set up very well for the future. They have a weekly kind of change of events, and they do monthly themes. So the first month is American pop culture, and so there's things with muscle cars and Mustangs and all these different things that are going into that. Classic's got DeLorean in there and some other things, and then next month will be something different, and then something different. So
yeah, and for those who don't know, the Crew 2 has been kind of quietly one of the more popular live service type games in the background. And so they've been working on that pipeline for a while. So I agree. I noticed that was ready to go from moment one.
Yeah.
And they have ways to earn credits and things. I guess the one last thing I wanted to say about Motorfest that I really liked that I didn't know of going in was when you finish a playlist, you get what they call challenges, which are things to do with the various cars from that playlist or planes or boats or whatever you got in the free ride. And then if you get high enough, you get certain benefits, whether that's credits in-game or credits from the premium currency or special outfits or things that just give you a reason to do things in the free race mode that I just think is really smartly implemented. So it constantly feels like there's more to do in the game and that you're getting rewarded for your time no matter what you're doing after you beat one playlist.
Yes, I did call that out as well. I like that a lot because rather than like give you this checklist right at the start of stuff to do, it's like every time you start a playlist and every time you finish a playlist, you get new things to do on the map, which is really cool. It's a good idea. So, it's structured very well. I really like it. I think that it's going to continue to see an audience. And to your point, I was surprised to find, doing the review, I started to do some research just to make sure I had all my facts right. And the Crew has over 21 million players, the Crew 1 and 2, which I would not have guessed. Just living where I live, I guess. Maybe I'm not seeing the people playing the Crew, but it has a big audience. So I think they're going to enjoy this one. And I agree with you. I think Motorfest, they kind of found where they need to go now. Because 1 and 2 didn't really land for me so much. I did play them both. I didn't really care for either of them. This one hit with me a lot more. So, yeah, check it out.
I reviewed Crew 1 and 2, and I thought both of them were pretty good, but obviously had a lot of room to grow. But even the areas that they succeeded, like I think the Crew 1 is like kind of a cult classic. There's a whole bunch of people that really, really like the Crew 1, and then
I love the Crew 1.
Yeah, and then the Crew is the Crew 2 is more divisive, but I think they're both pretty good games. But it's sort of like that other game you and I reviewed, and A Riders Republic, where Ubisoft can do a whole bunch right, and people usually don't care because I think my impression is that the market for this type of games is pretty limited because the people that play those car games maybe buy like a couple games a year, and maybe 1 or 2 car games are their limit, and they tend to pick the racing royalty, like Gran Turismo and Forza and that sort of thing. And so I think it's kind of just a hard space to edge into. Even Forza had like years where they were just pumping out games that weren't really like crushing it because Gran Turismo and others were there, Need for Speed. But it seems like a market that seems like it's really hard to get into that space. But I'm glad to hear that this one is good. I want to play it. I probably will not have time, but it sounds fun, up my alley.
Yeah, it is. It's very fun. It's one of those games you can just turn on, not have to think about, right, and just enjoy. You just have fun cruising around, finding stuff, doing things. So it's a good time. Highly recommended. You can read my review if you're interested, and like I said, you can play for 5 hours for free. So check it out. And thank you, by the way, to Ubisoft, too. They sent that code over to me. I did not expect it, actually, which is another sign that they're really trying to get the word out about this game, right? They just wanted people to like press to try it and share their opinion. So it worked.
They said, we got to get a guy with the handle of Porsche power to play this game.
Right. Let's get caught up on a few super chats here that have come in.
All right. The Grumpy Shaman with the $5 super chat. I like that name. I would love to see Travis and Dan play Baldur's Gate 3 in co-op. They could be the Tango and Cash for the D&D world. I mean, I'm the Cash, right? For sure.
That's a great reference.
He just wanted to call us Tango and Cash. He doesn't actually want to see that stream.
I mean, wait, Tango was, which one was Tango? He was Stallone, right?
Stallone, yeah. Or was
Kurt Russell, yeah.
Kurt Russell was Cash, right? Tango? Yeah, I think that's right. I think that's right. Yeah. I like that movie when I was a kid. That's an old one nowadays, man.
Yep.
Yeah. Good one.
2 Dark Urge, Halfling.
2 Dark Urge.
We'll just
it's a lot of death.
Grumpy Shaman, thank you. Love the name. Thank you for the super chat. Don is back.
Don, $10 super chat. Good morning, Bitcast. Just missed saying hi last week while in Edmonton, Canada. What is MDT? Is that like Mountain Standard Time or something? What the hell
Mountain Daylight Time.
Mountain Daylight Time, whatever. All right. Yeah, finally back, and I put a couple hours into Starfield. Too many games already, and now a Tales of Arise DLC. Yes.
Yep. We'll be talking about that as part of the
it's
whatever
funny.
show that was in.
That was the Nintendo Switch. No, sorry, the PlayStation Direct. we were
PlayStation
talking about
Direct. Nice.
Whatever. PlayStation Nintendo Direct presented by Xbox. That thing we were talking about it, how they were announcing a DLC for that game, and this was before the show had happened. We were like talking about the news, and we were like, okay, guys, it's a DLC from a beloved Japanese studio and known for making, JRPGs. And then like, everybody's like Elden Ring.
Yeah.
It's like Tales of Arise. No, so close.
Yeah. There's definitely an audience. I was going to say there's definitely an audience for this, but it's no Shadow of the Archery. No, come on. Yeah. But Don, thank you so much. Hope you had a good trip. Always good to see you here. Thank you. Older gamer in the house.
Older gamer with the $5 Canadian. I have to say it. The Battle Royale Destruction Derby mode is an absolute blast. Big fan of what I've seen so far in the Crew Motorfest.
Yeah, I called that out in my review as well. There's other things like the Grand Race, which is, one of those gigantic races you can do across the island. And they have Destruction Derby, which is a lot of fun. It's 32 players, like a Battle Royale, but you get it's crews of 3, if I recall correctly, which doesn't add up to 32. So I forget how that works.
4. I think it's 18.
Is it 4? 18 is a 4. Thank you. That makes a lot more sense than 3. But it's hilarious. You race around, you can get power ups, and you just smash each other, and it's a lot of fun. So cool, older gamer. Thank you very much. And we got a couple member comments. Fish String with members for 7 months. Who is, by the way, a racer in real life? We talk a lot about cars and racing. More historic racing stories in racing games, please. Yes, sir. Big agree. And I called that out in my review as well. And Tal with Indie Devs Unite, please find a way. Last 10 years, I've mainly put most of my gaming time into indies. Yeah, so the mess with Unity right now is certainly interesting. That's for sure. Yeah. Thank you, guys. Appreciate the super chats. Appreciate the memberships. Thank you very much. We have yet another new release to talk about from a review perspective, and that is Mortal Kombat 1.
Oh, yes. I can't afford Mortal Kombat 1 right now, so...
Sorry, I'm 0 for 3 so
far.
I'm
very excited to talk about Mortal Kombat.
All I've seen is clips of Megan Fox, so
she's terrible.
Is she
terrible.
The vampire?
Yes. Her voice acting.
Like, what's funny is
terrible.
I got to that part with the voice
acting. Regular acting is terrible.
I did not know. I did not know that it was a celebrity. I did not know that it was Megan Fox. I had gotten no PR, but as soon as I heard her voice, I thought that's clearly a celebrity voice because she cannot act. And I don't know which celebrity it is, but it kind of just reminded me of that moment in Fast and Furious with
all of them where they can't act.
No. Who's the wrestler?
Sorry.
The pro wrestler.
John Cena?
Ronda Rousey.
Oh,
Ronda Rousey. She had a part in Furious 7, and and her acting, you're like, oh, God.
She had a part in Mortal Kombat 11.
I know, yeah, she did. Yeah, she's by the way, she's super nice and plays games and stuff. But yeah, there's a celebrity voice actor that you can immediately identify, and you're like, that's more celebrity than voice actor.
It's real bad. It's real bad. There's a lot of clips already out there of her, of her lines, and it's just like, oh God, it's bad. But
all of our Diablo characters, we gotta thank her for that.
That? Say it again. She
killed all of our Diablo characters. Do you remember?
No.
Oh,
I don't.
She did a thing like the first week that Diablo 4 was out, where if you were playing on the hardcore mode where your character permanently dies, if you permanently died, she would read a obituary for your character and put a video of it on Twitter. And she did that for tons of characters on Twitter.
Oh, I didn't remember.
It was really cool. She did obituaries, and all the obituaries were tied to how that character died in the game. She made fun of them about it. It was pretty good.
Cool.
Like I was saying, Ronda Rousey, Megan Fox, I'm sure these are all super nice, good people. It doesn't mean that they're good voice actors or that they should, be in the that side of things. But
yeah. The good news is the game itself is awesome so far. So I am a little history here. Say it again.
Did you beat the campaign yet?
Not yet. No. I'm not doing the review for it. Elu is, who's our fighting game guy. Our reviews, I think it's done today, actually. But we played, I've done some story mode. I've done some invasion, and we had an open King of the Hill lobby going on Friday night. And we played for quite a few hours, actually, just, battling it out. And I would say about this one, like every mainline entry of Mortal Kombat, they kind of changed something. So there's no crypt in this game. They switched it to invasions, which I need to play more of. It's kind of funny right now in how it's presented. So I'll see about that. The story mode's really good so far. I'm still early in it, but I'm enjoying it. What's that look?
It's so good.
Yeah, it's good. It's really good. I'm still early.
So good. I'm just like I'll gush about the story. You keep going.
Okay.
I'll do it later.
I think one of the interesting things about this, if you don't know Mortal Kombat, right? End of 11, I guess spoilers at this point, right? It basically they reset time itself. So it basically they wrote into the Mortal Kombat lore a way for the entire universe to be reset, which is why this is called Mortal Kombat 1.
Third time they've done that, by the way.
They have multiple times, yeah. So this one is like Liu Kang, and that's why he's the picture, right? Kind of starting the realms over again. The interesting thing is when you play, that means that all the characters you know and are familiar with are kind of like fresh almost. So they're like young versions of themselves, including like Raiden and Kung Lao and Sonya and Jax. And, they have kind of new personalities to some degree. Yeah, Kenshi in the story mode is not even blind like at the start. And it's very interesting. But the gameplay itself, obviously, is what's key in a fighting game. Very, very similar to the Mortal Kombat, the modern Mortal Kombat that has developed with kind of like a rushdown, combo-focused, gameplay. The interesting thing about this one that they added is the cameo system, which is where you're fighting one-on-one. You pick a secondary character with your main, and you can hit a button where they will do cameo attacks while you're fighting. What makes this interesting is that it allows you, once you get better at the game, and I'm not that great right now, but I've seen some game play from like the pros, where they're figuring out all kinds of different ways to combo these attacks in. And I saw even Sonic Fox. So if you don't know who Sonic Fox is, he's like one of the best fighting game players in the world of all time. He's won like countless titles. He was talking about how the cameo system is really unique and adds a lot of layers to Mortal Kombat, gameplay itself. And it'll be interesting to see that meta kind of develop over time. So I won't go on too much about that, but the gameplay itself is super smooth. It's stunningly gorgeous. The animations, the backgrounds, everything that goes into it. And as usual with Mortal Kombat, it's just the modern Mortal Kombat. It's just very well presented. It's just very well kind of polished, and everything's gorgeous, and everything, just works. The online play super smooth. We had no problems all Friday night. Like, it would show a higher ping connection at times, but it was no issue at all. Everything was kind of instant and felt really good. So, I really like it. I know Elu is very high on it. He gave Street Fighter 6 a 9.5. He adored Street Fighter 6. I don't know if this will be that high, but he's very high on it.
Than that.
Yeah, I talked to him last night about it on where he was score-wise, and he's very, very high on it and loves it. So, I'm very excited to play more of it. I'm currently tied up on something else now, but I'm very excited to continue to kind of polish my Mortal Kombat skills. So hit me with your story mode impressions without spoiling anything, obviously.
Yeah, I will not be spoiling anything except to say that this is probably my favorite Mortal Kombat story. Ains already spoiled the ending of the last Mortal Kombat game for everyone, so we don't have to worry about that. But the idea of the universe being rebooted by somebody who has the best interests of everyone in mind, who's somebody who's like pure of heart, has a very interesting effect on the Mortal Kombat universe, which is that this is the first Mortal Kombat game that is entirely wholesome. I've
seen the fatalities, Travis. Are you sure?
I'm sure it's wholesome. The fatalities and stuff are in there, but like the story is like the most wholesome thing. Just when you think it's about to get dark and dirty and they're going to destroy everyone and there's going to be no hope, they turn it around and it's friendship and it's like camaraderie. And honestly, I'm like amazed at this because I played through the entire story last night, and my fiance was sitting there having never seen a Mortal Kombat game except for that she knew that there were gross fatalities, and she was just in it from the beginning to the end, like so happy everything was coming together and that people were working together, and she didn't understand a lot of the references and what was happening to different characters and stuff, but she really, really enjoyed it. And it was great, man. I mean, the story is, I didn't realize that what I needed was some of the dark and grittiness of Mortal Kombat to be erased by the timeline being guided by a really nice boy, Liu Kang. So It really impressed me and was like surprisingly like welcoming and not all just like gruesome and horror and stuff. And yeah, I really liked the story from beginning to end. It does some things where there's like twists in the story where you're like, that's kind of a weird decision and stuff like that. So, it's not like everything I was like, 100%. But even when they made decisions that I thought were a little out there or questionable or, okay, well, that doesn't really make sense. Cause when you start dealing with time and timelines, it gets really nonsensical really quickly. But even when they did that stuff, the tone maintained and the characters and how allies are working together that normally were always enemies in the game. Like they do that a lot where every character is redeemable. Like every character isn't just like I'm evil bad guy. Like you kind of understand that, people backed into a corner, do things.
I don't think that voice acting is redeemable.
Well, that character, thankfully, I've only seen a couple times, and she does not seem to have like a major role in the story. She like shows up and says like a couple one-liners and leaves. So that hasn't really been an issue. But like this game has so much heart. This game just has so much heart. Like every character.
Baraka open that bakery shop he always wanted. We're gonna do this.
Also, Lee May, I think her name is her name Lee May?
Yes, Lee May.
Law enforcement. She is maybe my favorite character in terms of combat. Her moves where she like sets off fireworks and there's like a kind of like Chinese festival.
It is pretty cool. Yeah,
super dope. I love her moveset and attacks. So I went into this. My relationship with both Mortal Kombat and Injustice is, if I wanted more of a tuned fighting game, I'd play Street Fighter. Frankly, I think the mechanics in those games are better because that's all it is. They don't do anything with story and all that. But I play Injustice and Mortal Kombat for the story, and usually they're, high up there. 8's great story. Glad I played through it, and then I put it down. But this one, the story is so good, it makes me want to spend more time in this world and to play more of the combat. And I've never felt that way about Mortal Kombat before, even though their storytelling has always been amazing. I think this is their best work yet. And it's surprising given how convoluted the story has gotten up to this point, even with a time reset. It's not really a reset, right? You have the baggage of the previous timelines, which are referenced, and Liu Kang still remembers all the past and all that. So it's not a full refresh like 9 was. And 9 wasn't even either because Raiden also remembered. So yeah, they've just always had that problem. But anyway, I just really like it, man. And I think you're gonna love this game. I really do.
It's
fatalities
really
and all. I think.
No, I like the fatalities. I don't have a problem with Mortal Kombat. I'm surprised it being called wholesome in any capacity.
It's wholesome.
Whatsoever.
It's wholesome AF. It's very wholesome. Like you will be surprised.
No, in fairness, that is how I would express. I would expect Mortal Kombat to express its wholesomeness.
Yeah. If there's, I do have to call out one major missing link for people like me who the modern fighting games have tried their best to replicate the arcade era days, where you meet up with a group of people, you put your quarter up on the cabinet, and you get next, winner stays, loser goes. And that has worked well in Mortal Kombat and Street Fighter in the past few iterances, or few entries, I should say. The weird thing about this one right now, as it stands anyways, you can create a custom King of the Hill lobby, which we did on Friday, like I said, with a few of us. But if you search for matchmaking to play with people around the world, you can search for a private match one-on-one, which works well, and you can search for King of the Hill, which works well, but you can't host one. So as of this moment, as we're speaking, unless they're adding it, there's no way for like me and Travis and Hoeg to go online and go into a lobby of like 8 people and all of us just be in there taking turns with other people around the world. You either have to play with your friends only or online people only. There's no way to mix and match. Like you can't just open a King of the Hill lobby like you could in 9 and 10 and 11. So I don't know why it's not there. I was really confused on Friday night because we played each other for a while and we were like, all right, let's jump into a lobby with other people. And the cool thing about those lobbies, if you don't know, is when you're not playing, you see the match just like you would in the arcade, right? So you're watching people play, you can kind of learn their nuances, what they tend to do, and it's just really, really fun. And not being able to do that with your friends right now is a big miss. And I hope that they are adding that. It's to come in a patch. I know crossplay is not active right now, so they said maybe there's just a few features that they're a little late getting to. So we'll see about that. But other than that, I am loving it. Really loving it. Like I said, I'm on to something else right now, but I can't wait to get back to Mortal Kombat and continue playing it.
So what's
I'm
funny
gonna
is
play more of it today.
I was getting online to go get Mortal Kombat when it showed that the only way to get the early access or the current access to Mortal Kombat is to pay for like the $110 one. And that was just not something I was going to do. So Liza P was there, and I got that instead. But I'm in on Mortal Kombat when it actually comes out for us latecomers on Tuesday.
Yeah, I mean, I think we've talked on this show a lot about the early access situation, how it's not actually early access.
Liza P's that way too.
I know.
Yeah.
I mean, pretty much every game's doing it. Even games that I
Yeah.
loved are doing this practice, and I think it's just important to call it out every once in a while that it is not early access. It is we're going to make you pay more access, and then the standard version is late access for people who aren't down to get grifted like that. And I do think it is a huge step back for consumers. This is not the way it used to work, and I think in this case, the way it used to work was definitely more beneficial for consumers. And I just, this practice really bothers me. Luckily, somebody else sent me a code for Mortal Kombat because I would have never paid $110 for it. But it's really dumb that like we're on a gaming show and two of the people can't really play the game because it's just exorbitantly. I mean, it's just so much money to ask for a game just to play it 4 days early. And yeah, I hate that practice. I really do.
Yeah. Honestly, as much as I love MK, I probably would have bought it. But I got the collector's edition, which came with the early access. But I agree with you, like $110. Yes, you get the extra character pack and some other stuff, but $110. I mean, it's asking a lot nowadays for a game, especially for a few days. So, but yeah, loving Mortal Kombat 1. You can check out Elu's review if you're not familiar. Elu does almost all of our fighting game reviews. He is a guru with those. He's
when is his review live?
He's pretty much done, so it should be live today or tomorrow as you're listening to this.
Nice.
Yeah, he's in the chat right now talking about it. So
I know our reviewer Saltzman is like, he's the fighting guru at IGN.
Yes,
he gave it an 8, but I also think the things he cares about are like extremely technical because he competes in tournaments, and the stuff I care about are like how cool was the story? How many puns about filmmaking did Johnny Cage make? That's that's my barometer. So that's why I don't review those games for anybody curious. I actually did review one Mortal Kombat game years ago, but
I reviewed 11 actually, and I loved 11 as well. But this one is excellent. Can't tell if I missed the crypt yet or not. I got to play more of Invasion. I'm weird. I really like the crypt. So we'll see. But anyway, that's on those. That's kind of 3 big reviews. We've got one more super chat to get to. We'll save that one for now. I will say that coming soon, I did my next project that I'm playing right now is Phantom Liberty. I'm allowed to say that, I believe, I hope, for Cyberpunk. Those of you who know me know how much I love Cyberpunk 2077. So I'm over the moon to be reviewing Phantom Liberty, and I will be doing a separate review as well, kind of an overview of 2.0. So they come together basically in the review piece, but I'm gonna kind of talk about them separately. So more to come. Obviously, can't talk about it right now. So more to come on that. Dan, you have been very quiet because I know you're not playing the games we are reviewing. Are you still on Baldur's Gate 3? Or are you playing something else?
Yeah, no, pretty much. Just Baldur's Gate 3.
That game is taking over your life.
Super good. It's ridiculous. 3rd playthrough, still finding so much stuff that I missed. And I'm one of those people that will actively search for everything. There are missions literally that you'll be walking around the city. You have to talk to just a random guy or girl standing there. And next thing you know, you're doing like a whole nother side quest or something. So yeah, I missed a whole bunch of stuff. And the Dark Urge playthrough kind of changes the whole game too. So don't do that in your first playthrough. Probably not a good idea. But if you play through it twice, definitely worth it. It's a whole nother ball game. But it's super good. I mean, I haven't been this really since Hitman 3. I haven't had a game that just kind of wouldn't let me go, man. And I'm also been playing some of that. And actually, I started another Spider-Man playthrough to prepare myself for the Spider-Man coming. So that's just kind of like, just like a little bit of, every once in a while I'll jump on there for 30 minutes and do a mission or two, and just to kind of get refamiliarized with what was going on because I don't remember anything.
So does the Dark Urge playthrough make Baldur's Gate feel like Hitman?
No, no. But I did think about. I saw a video on YouTube where a guy actually decided he wanted to play Baldur's Gate as Agent 47. So he made a character Agent 47. I think he picked like a rogue assassin. He would use a lot of the spells where he could change his appearance, and just everything he could. Push a lot of people off of accidents, falling off of into giant chasms and stuff like that. It was actually kind of funny. So I thought about doing some of that. Yeah, it was great. Thinking about doing that next time, but I don't know if I'm going to finish this Dark Urge because it's a lot different than, because you can play as your own character, which I think most people will do. Then you can play as any of the regular characters they have created, like Karlach and Shadowheart and all of them. And then the Dark Urge is one of those as well. It's like a whole another story where you have these
an
urges. Yeah, you have some kind of affliction. But you don't know your background, and you kind of you find that out through playing, and things kind of slowly get revealed, like what happened prior to where you started the game, which doesn't happen on like a regular character created or a created character playthrough. So
yeah, I played as a
quests
character.
are always cool.
Yeah, I really like those as well. But I played as one of the created characters. Like I played as Gale, and the problem I had with that is like I don't get to meet Gale because I just made my own kind of version of him, and I was sort of like, oh, I feel like I would have liked to have this character on my team, and also now I'm having to eat all my magical items super early in the game, which honestly just sucks. So there's like a lot of disadvantages. I think I'm probably going to restart, even though I put 60 hours into it. I'm probably going to start over when I do my console playthrough.
Yeah, you would like Dark Urge. I mean, I'm not.
Of course I would. Yeah, I know what Dark Urge is, and I'm that sounds fun, but you're right. It can't be the first playthrough, and that makes me sad because it means I probably will never get to it.
For the record, Dark Urge is my first Baldur's Gate 3 playthrough.
You're crazy.
Hilarious. Yeah, but you're an agent of chaos when you play D&D. I learned this by playing in your D&D group. He's unhinged, bro. He takes off the mask when he plays D&D. He goes full feral.
It's because he's a nobody.
We have a lot of fun.
He does have a lot of fun. He makes the fun happen with just pure chaos. It's cool.
By the way, Tanmay on Hoag's side says Hitman World of Assassination and Payday 2 are my go-to games still.
Perfect.
There you go. There you go.
You can never. I mean, it's Hitman is just. I give it IOI credit. They've done a really good job just putting out extra content. Now, I think a lot of the diehard Hitman people and community, they're not super impressed, and a lot of it's like reskin stuff. But I mean, they don't have to. They could just kind of let it go and eventually die, which it will. So keeping it up, that's fine. I'm glad they do.
There was I don't know if you saw, but there was the slightest piece of info this week on IOI's James Bond game saying it's going to be an action adventure game. So it's not. I think they're saying that to preface that it's not going to be like that mission, like go do this in this area, type thing. It's probably going to be more broader kind of.
It'd be terrible if they made the exact same game with a different IP.
Of course.
Skin. Yeah.
Of course.
Terrible. Something new.
Yeah.
Oh, good for them.
Yeah.
Alan Wake 2 is my game of the year. How?
Goldeneye, what's up?
I'm all for you, but yeah.
People talking about, you started talking about Baldur's Gate, so a few people said Baldur's Gate's their game of the year. We got a Starfield vote. And by the way, I was going to bring that up. I haven't played any more Starfield because I was reviewing The Crew, and now I'm on Cyberpunk again. But anyone else want to kind of talk about continued adventures within the stars?
Starfield is much bigger than I even thought. That's my current review. Like taking a random mission from a mission board and landing in a place and realizing that it's its whole society and it has its own 14 missions. Like this happens regularly in Starfield.
Yeah, you can spend your entire day just like on a random settlement and finishing up all the quest lines there. I've now reached the point where I've sort of run out of stuff to do that isn't the main story, and which means I'm finally doing the main story, and I think I'm most of the way through it. So I probably will be rolling credits on Starfield this week. Well, actually, I start my Payday 3 review tomorrow, so maybe not, because I'm going to play more Mortal Kombat today. But yeah, I'm at the point now where I've kind of done everything, and I'm really interested to see New Game Plus because I hear that's a big part of it. But yeah, I will say this: 250 plus hours, the game is really struggling to keep running. Like the main town in New Atlantis, the floor is gone. Like there's like bugs that are now like permanently just like there, and I'm starting to see the wheels come off. So I'm kind of like eager to get to New Game Plus because I have a feeling it's just gonna like reset everything, and I really badly need that to happen because the world is starting to just like crash on me in like major ways that I'm worried that something is going to prevent me from being able to progress. But yeah, that I've probably just pushed the game to its limit. Like I've done so much weird stuff that you're probably not meant to do, and the game's just starting to crap.
I was going to say, I know they had their first update. They talked about that this week, and funny enough, I think that update fixed most of my crashes on Xbox side that I was having. I think I mentioned I was working with Bethesda QA directly, and they told me that what they were seeing in my game save, that the mass majority of those crashes were being fixed, already tagged, basically as one of their fixes in the code. So that's pretty cool. Obviously, they'll continue to tune this for a very long time to come. But yeah,
one problem is in my game,
impressive.
I have no idea if this is a bug that people know about, but there's, you know how they reuse the same like objects in the game, like everybody will have like the same desk or whatever, or a certain number of people will. There's one desk in the game that has disappeared from all instances throughout the entire galaxy, and so if anybody has that desk, their desk is gone and they're just like sitting behind nothing, and all of their items are just floating in the air the entire game. It is so awkward because anytime I walk into a room and I just see floating objects, I'm like, oh no, they must have this desk. That desk is just deleted.
That desk brand was recalled. They just took it out.
Got recalled, and everything's hovering now. So yeah, I want to beat it, but I really do like it. But yeah, it's got some work to do. It's an irresponsibly big game, as Todd Howard put it, and I think that is causing problems for me.
Yeah, it's awesome though. A couple of super chats to catch on before we move on to, we got State of Play, Nintendo Direct, and Tokyo Game Show to chat on. Let's hit these super chats. Dan, you're on mute, brother.
Yep, I knew that. With the $2 super chat. Chaps 4 chapters, I'm assuming, 4 through 7, with the mini group was immaculate.
I believe that's a Mortal Kombat reference.
Mortal Kombat story mode reference. Yeah.
So good. So good. Yes.
Nice. It's awesome. It's awesome. I'm excited to get to it. I'm not that far yet, so I'm very excited to hear that it's that good. So awesome. Ladays, thank you for the super chat. Siddharth is back.
Yeah, with the 400 Indian rupees. I'm kind of bummed Liza P doesn't have PvP/invasions. Just realized this thanks to Travis's Beyond episode. Great one, by the way. But why do games promote themselves as Souls-like when they skip like 40% of the features?
Yeah, I don't know if PvP,
because that's the best way to describe it.
Yeah, it really is. I don't know if the PvP is the defining trait for Souls-likes, and I don't even know if I can describe to you what the defining trait is, because now we have like shooter Souls-likes, right? But I think the idea of like designed around difficulty, enemies respawning when you save at a point, having really like challenging boss fights that are ultimate gauntlets, I think those are sort of the main things around Souls-likes. And ultimately, if a developer is self-describing a game as a Souls-like, they're sort of accomplishing their goal anyway, right? Because they're speaking to that audience and saying like, hey, this is the sort of experience we're trying to make. But I do think the waters get muddied. I mean, this is true of every genre in games. You know, ask 10 different gamers what a JRPG is, and they'll all have their different definition, because there is really no settled
mine
definition.
is right, just to be clear.
Yeah, Hogue thinks his is right, and I strongly disagree with Hogue's.
I was going to say overrated, but
there we go. Boom. Yeah. And then Japanese people will tell you that FromSoft games are JRPGs. That's what I learned.
I mean,
1 year.
They're made in Japan and they're RPGs. What do you want?
Yeah, they're JRPGs. And then most people are like, what? No, that's not what anybody thinks about. So yeah, it's very, very complicated. I tend to think genres are only useful to a certain extent in games. And then you just have to start talking about the individual game, because there's just too much subjectivity in like what is what genre.
Yeah, I agree. I agree.
It's just shorthand for communications. So to the extent it helps to communicate, great. If it doesn't, then it's not useful.
Yeah. It often causes more people to just get lost in the weeds, I think, but it can be useful.
Yeah. WM Sus Wimsus on Hogue says I keep hearing Eliza P. Eliza, like the name P. Yeah, lies.
Eliza.
But yeah, Sid, I think on this too, just to further Travis's point, it's kind of weird with the Souls community, even because there's people like, I would say even me, who don't care about PvP or invasions at all. Oftentimes I'll even play offline. But then there's other people in the Souls community that are like diehard into PvP. Like it is the core of what they play in those games. So I think it just depends on your preferences.
Liza P does feel
pleased with me. This makes me happy.
Yeah. He doesn't want to get invaded, and I actually think invasions wouldn't make a lot of sense in this game. But I will say lack of PvP is surprising, given how tuned the combat is, and the weapon crafting feels like it would work perfect with it. So there's always a chance it'll get added in DLC. This game's going to have DLC, so
okay,
could happen down the road.
Sid, thank you so much. Always generous. Appreciate you. Hope you're doing well. All right, guys. So why don't we start with PlayStation State of Play between the two here?
Hang on, Mr. Ains. I have a number of games that I was playing that we have not discussed yet that are on this Post-it note. I'm ready to
go. Take the floor, sir. The floor is yours. Let's go.
Because we talked about JRPGs, I do want to call out Batten Kaidos 1 and 2 High Definition Remaster came out on the Switch the same day as the Nintendo Direct. And not enough people are talking about it because it's a fun old school JRPG of the kind that you might think of as Final Fantasy VII with the rendered backgrounds and the multiplane kind of walking with three-dimensional characters. If you aren't familiar with this game, I don't blame you at all. It was only on GameCube, and it was weird even when it came out. But they've brought it back because the people that make the Xenoblade series made these games way back in the day, and they are cool. They're cool little JRPGs in which you also battle with the souls of objects as captured in cards, as you can only do in Japanese role-playing games.
Of course.
And if that sounds interesting to you, and you also like a world of floating islands and trying to solve things from a wicked god reviving, as you do, that's the game for you.
Sounds like a JRPG to me.
It is. It is very much a JRPG.
You just called it overrated. That's it. Remember his definition. We know his definition now, Ho.
It also sounds that, but carry on.
Whoa.
Ains can play whatever he likes, right? You should all play games that do it for you. Whatever that means for you. I love Japanese role-playing games.
100% correct.
Batten Kaidos is a good representative sample of what I consider the dark times of JRPGs. Not a lot of games were coming out at this time. They were not really well thought of. And Batten Kaidos was a game that I think was even weird for the time. But it's great to have the ability to play them now. And the High Definition Remaster is cool. With one note that I have to give to people, which is that the English dub, the voice acting for Batten Kaidos was apparently deemed bad enough from whenever it came out, I think the early 2000s, that it's not been brought over in this remaster. So you only get the Japanese audio.
Oh, interesting.
And
that's how to play it anyway. I mean,
who the hell plays it without Japanese?
I tend to turn the voices off in the older school games that only give me foreign audio because I don't like reading and hearing differently at the same time.
Yeah, it is confusing.
But it's if you don't mind that, you just turn the voices off and you just play it like it's an even older JRPG. It's really no problem. But they did kill what was one of the goofier Jill is the master of unlocking type voice acting performances in video games. So if that's why you're coming to the party, I'm very sorry to say the party is not open to you. But otherwise, Batten Kaidos, very good.
Well, hold on. So let's make sure people know then, for people who may be interested. So what platforms is it out on?
I believe I'm playing it on Switch. I believe it's only on Switch.
Only on Switch. Okay, and how it's multiple games? Is it like a bundle?
Yeah, it's 1 and 2 is just the one application.
Gotcha. And how much was it?
1 and 2. I think it was $50.
Okay. All right. Cool. There you go. If you're interested.
Yeah.
All right. What else you got for me? Hit me with that Post-it note.
I do. I have more Post-it note entries here. So there was a review of a DLC. There was a review of a DLC that I saw on my Twitter timeline that I just really was interested in and I liked. from a small website called Seasoned Gaming. And the game was called Cassette Beasts.
Oh, yes.
And this game had slipped by me. There's so many games that come out every day. But Cassette Beasts is essentially a funky take on Pokemon. It's not quite Pokemon, but it is also exactly Pokemon when you play this game. So if you're interested in a game that has you collecting various monsters and then transforming into them when you play music on your headphones, you should check out Cassette Beasts because it is also excellent. And apparently there's DLC that's coming out in October. You should also check out the preview of that DLC on Seasoned Gaming, which is what got me to buy this game. So
Never heard of it.
Buy a game, don't read that. But if you do want to buy a game, read that because it's very compelling.
Yeah, Steve reviewed that for us and was very, very high on it. And the general critic consensus on that game is very, very high. Very highly rated game.
I didn't heard about it before that. It just slipped by me.
Cool. Yeah. We got the press release at their DLC. I think it's like October 4th. I'm going off of memory. Early October, I believe, is the first DLC for that one. So yeah, check it out.
That game is sick. I've played it.
Yeah, because that beast is really good. And I'm also playing a game called Dune Spice Wars.
Okay.
Which just released from early access. It's from the company that made Northgard, if you're familiar with that strategy game on PC. It is what you think. It's a kind of 4X territory control war strategy game where you take on one of the houses in the Dune universe to try to take command of Arrakis. But that's a lot of fun. That's interesting. And so you should check that out. And then the last game, and then I'll leave you to talking about these terrible directs in just a second, is a little known game that we actually saw in Sony's showcase called Eternites. Which is essentially my first Persona game. It's a kind of baby version of Persona, which takes the social link system to a more dating place. But it's not MA18 or anything. It's not that kind of game. It's not 18 plus. It's just focuses on the kind of romantic entanglements more than friendship.
Okay.
It is going through a dungeon. And it is building up your stats by building your relationships with the people in your party.
Okay. Yeah, I did play this one a little bit. My fiance and I did not finish it, but this is one that was on our list because of the dating sim. It is a full-on dating sim, by the way, self-described, although it also is an action game, has action sequences and stuff.
Cool.
It's cool.
Cool. That you said that one is out now?
Yeah, I'm playing it on PlayStation.
It's been out for a while. I think it came out.
It came out on Tuesday?
Wait, maybe it really might have been on PC prior, maybe
it might have been in early access, but it came out on the PlayStation I think on Tuesday.
Okay,
cool. I feel like I played it at least a month ago, but I don't know what I'm talking about.
You play so many dating sims, Travis. Who can remember?
I know I do. I definitely played this one though. I googled it while you were talking about it. I was like, oh yeah, I recognize this. This one happened.
Have we covered the post-it note, sir?
Yes, that's everything I wrote on my post-it note. Thank you for giving me this time. We'll call this segment Rick and his post-it note.
Hoag's notes. Fair enough. No, it's good. It's good. I mean, as we keep saying, it's kind of crazy actually that with all the major games, major being like AAA big budget releases, right? There are so many other games releasing right now as well, as always, but there's some really good ones in there. So thank you for calling some of those out. And yes, I double checked while you were talking Cassette Beast. It's Pier of the Unknown is the expansion it's called. It does come out October 4th. My memory served me well for once. And it is $7. So it's not like an expensive big budget expansion. So check out Cassette Beast.
Is really, really cool. Really cool.
And you can read our review. Steve did that one for us, who many of you know, and he loved it. Yeah, so you can check that review out if you want to know more about it. All right. Now we're going to get to PlayStation State of Play. So State of Play this week was about, 30 minutes or so. I got to be honest with you guys. Well, here, let me run down we'll talk through the stuff, and then we'll talk about our thoughts of the show. So they opened with a game called Baby Steps. They were going, obviously,
I honestly thought that was like your commentary on Sony's baby steps to get to a good Sony Direct eventually.
No, this game looked raw to me, honestly. I'm down.
It looked goofy as hell. Yeah, obviously.
Yeah.
It's certainly not your traditional opener. For those that didn't see the direct,
definitely not. As soon as that opened, when I saw that was their opener, I was like, oh, this is not going to be a Bloodborne 2 show for all the people talking about that. No way.
Yeah, it's a game where it looks like it's got kind of a QWOP sensibility of forcing you to have to walk.
Good old QWOP. Yeah.
Wow.
You basically apparently just try to walk through environments, and the walking itself is the game.
There's also that one with the pick. You know that one where you're getting over it? I think it's called. You guys play that one? Where you're in a pot and you have a pick and you're trying to get over obstacles and mountains. That game's hella hard,
games, ladies and gentlemen.
That game's hella hard. Yeah, you guys should look at getting over it. That game is insane. But I love this subgenre of like doing simple things is hard. Octodad, I would also put in this category as maybe the most mainstream, simplest one. But I really like
Octodad.
Octodad's sick, dude. Goated game.
I don't think I would say goated, but I enjoyed it.
Josh Ford says, what game? We're talking about baby steps. So we're talking about PlayStation State of Play. It's a game they opened the show with, which looks, they were obviously going for sense of humor here to start the show. Kind of interesting. So I did miss, I didn't put in the notes when that one's releasing. Did they say, does anyone know off the top of their head?
I don't think it has a release date at all. I don't recall.
Okay. All
I think it's early. And I will say this, I'll be the old man on the stream here for a second. I really do wish
beyond the post-it notes, you mean?
More of, well, it's not on my post-it note, but I will.
You wrote down in your bill.
I really do wish that both Microsoft and Sony would maybe have their people take a little bit more of a significant editing touch on just the random instances of language and violence that pop up when you watch these showcases. Right. So like Baby Steps has 3 F-bombs in it. And I was watching it with my daughter and I was like, nope, we're turning this State of Play off.
I didn't expect that. It caught me off guard. Yeah, I didn't think about that. But
wasn't the opening that there's mature language and content in the show?
But unfortunately, they put that for everything, right? So if there's an Assassin's Creed trailer, you're getting that. And if there's F-bombs, you're getting that as well. So you need better resolution. If you're going to give me a warning, tell me what your heck you're warning me about. I get it. I understand that other people can enjoy it. I don't have a problem with other people enjoying it, but I need to be told what it is happening in here. And you certainly don't have to worry about the same thing with the Nintendo Direct.
True.
Very true.
Super Mario is not busting out the words.
He is not.
Though.
Oh, you'd be pretty Italian.
I would play it more if it did. But State of Play. So honestly, guys, and Hogue had the best joke, which really made me laugh about this one, where he said he felt like PlayStation uploaded a State of Play that they had already run. Because I went back through this morning and looked at the games that they showed, and here I'm just going to run down the list and then we can talk about these games. Okay,
it's a cover album.
Yeah, they showed Final Fantasy VII Rebirth. They showed Spider-Man 2. They showed Helldivers 2, Avatar: Frontiers of Pandora, Tales of Arise expansion, Beyond the Dawn, Foam Stars, Unicorn Overlord, which is another Square Enix game. And then, they said the weird thing about this is they said this was going to be focused on indies and PSVR 2. And for PSVR 2, they showed Ghostbusters: Rise of the Ghost Lord, which was already announced. And they showed Resident Evil 4 VR, which was announced a long time ago. Nothing else for PSVR 2. So very confused about this show because, one, they didn't really show anything for PSVR 2. And two, their biggest things in this showcase were Final Fantasy VII Rebirth, Spider-Man 2, Avatar, etc., which are all AAA.
Tales of Arise DLC.
It's a AAA game too.
Good. Yeah, but I think with Sony especially, right? They skipped the E3 week. They didn't have Xbox's showcase. They didn't have some of the stuff in June. You get to a State of Play, and whether or not it's fair, you do expect they're going to have some interesting things to tell you when they say, hey, can we have a half hour of your time? Yep. And I just don't think that Sony had much to show at all. And I wish they did. I'm not a hater on this stuff. I think Spider-Man 2 looks great. But I think that Spider-Man 2 video, however long it was, 5 minutes, would have been better as its own kind of YouTube launch than as a part of this big show. And I think you see that a little bit with the way Nintendo treated its Direct, right? They gave Wonder its own show. That Wonder had its own 13-minute sequence before the Nintendo Direct, and then we didn't expect to see Mario Wonder there because it would have been a waste of time.
Well, and we've seen Spider-Man 2 endlessly already. Like they've shown so much of it. And I'm not.
It's useful. It's useful to say, oh, we're going to do real time switching between people. I mean, I think there was stuff that they presented that I thought was well timed, and I like the way that they presented it with the narration of the game director over the top. But yeah, Spider-Man 2 is just, we know what that's going to feel like, give or take. So it's hard to get super excited about that being new. Unlike Unicorn Overlord, I think was the best announcement of the day on both the Direct and the State of Play, because that's a Vanillaware game and it's a tactics game. I mean, that's niche on niche, but it's mine.
That's a
Hoeg-ass game.
Yeah, a Hoeg-ass game right there.
Put it on the box, folks.
He's gonna be writing that on a post-it note in no time at all.
The release date is on the fridge.
Lord was by far my favorite game of these shows.
You know what is funny about that, and it's not my type of game, and that's fine. That doesn't bother me at all. But it was like 4 seconds into it with the art style, and I was like, "Oh, this is Square Enix." You know what I mean? Like you just know. It's so similar to the 19 other games that they released last year that look like this. And again, there's nothing wrong with that. I'm not kind of saying that's a bad thing. It's just very Square Enix, I guess. So to your point, Hoeg, I know you really enjoy those games. Like, what was it? Harvestella, I think we were talking about earlier this year, right?
Harvestella came out in November of last year, but yeah.
November. Okay. God, time flies. But yeah, like games like that, right? Like they don't necessarily have a huge audience. But the people like yourself who do love them, you know, which I think is cool. So, but yeah, I mean, on this show, guys, it didn't do much for me. I think the problem for me personally is I'm not interested in Spider-Man 2. The IP doesn't do much for me. And I'm not interested in Final Fantasy 7, which I know I'm in the minority, at least seemingly, because, my feed at least went nuts with Rebirth coming on February 29th. And I know there's, quite a few people excited for that, of course. But other than that, it didn't really do a whole lot for me. I'm interested to see what Avatar is. Avatar Cry from Ubisoft. But
Avatar will be good.
Yeah, I think it will too.
I really want to review that one.
Avatar?
I probably won't.
No.
Dan will ask me, do you want to review Avatar? And I'll be like, I hate the entire franchise, but yeah, let's go for it.
You didn't like Way of Water, Travis?
I did not like getting waterboarded by turquoise cement. It was one of our.
we have a little Viacom whale in our house.
Great. Yeah, no, I'm not a fan of the.
By the way, Mrs. Hoeg, I will point out, Mrs. Hoeg is not amused with our post-it slander. She is post-it defending in our chat.
I will come up here. I am giving Hoeg crap for it. I'm an avid post-it guy. I hate to admit it. Avid. I have them all over the place. I'm not gonna lie. It's how I do my to-do list. It's a board of post-its. So.
Nice. But what do you guys think about this show? I wasn't big on it at all. I didn't feel like this was a state of play that did anything for me. Yeah. What do you guys think overall?
Yeah, we were talking about this before it was announced, and we knew some of the announcements early, and so we were kind of getting a taste that this was not going to be that big of a show just based on the stuff that had leaked early, or that we had press releases for before the show happened. And we were kind of talking about at the office what we know Sony is working on, and there's a few studios that have big games that are coming out soon, and the rest are completely dark. And so I think the potential for us to find out about new exciting projects is certainly there. But timing, I think we probably still have a while to go. I don't think we're going to learn until like Q2 of next year.
Spring. What I was going to say.
What a lot of these what a lot of them are working on would be my guess. And some of those studios are super talented. I'm sure. What is it? Sucker Punches? Are they the one? The Ghosts of Tsushima? Are they doing Ghosts of Tsushima? I assume is coming soon. And I think that we're going to get some big announcements, but I don't think we're there yet. I think too many of these studios have come out with pretty recent games and probably have nothing really to show. And I'm happy to see PlayStation, at least so far, not just give us a logo and then not see the game for 3 years, because I really hate that practice. So I'm hoping they're holding off until they have something specific to see.
Googleman said Ghost of Sashimi.
I really think it's called like
Dave the Diver,
Tsushima or something.
Ghost of Tsushima. Yeah. So Dan, where are you on this?
Yeah, I didn't watch it. I went back and watched the Final Fantasy one because I'm interested in that. Obviously, the Spider-Man one, which at this point I need to stop because like you said, they've got so much out there right now. But I mean, everything looks good. I expect to play the hell out of that game. Probably another.
Spider-Man 2 is gonna be awesome.
It's gonna be amazing. Yeah,
be a great game.
Yeah, and I watched the Avatar stuff. I'm kind of with Travis, so I'm not a huge fan of the series. But you know, it's all right.
It looks like it'll be a fun game. You know what I mean? Like I'm not hugely interested in the IP, but it's Far Cry Avatar. Like it'll be fun.
Yeah, sure.
Far Cry in space.
I didn't understand. Like I thought Tales of Arise was done. Like I figured they went to a different Tales game and they're just gonna drop a DLC randomly. And I mean,
I like the way you say drop a DLC. It
drop a DLC.
When you say it. I don't like the way I gotta go drop a DLC later. If you guys wanna. I like the way you say it.
I did that this morning. But yeah, it's. I mean, listen. I love Tales of Arise. That was the one game I played it late, like after it released, and like maybe 6 months down the road, and it really surprised me because normally I'm not a big fan of games like that. It was so good.
It's very
really good story,
and it's gorgeous.
A gorgeous game, good characters.
Walk up the world's longest ladder. That's all I remember about that game. Really, the ladder.
Yeah, that's right.
Do you remember that ladder?
Yeah, I do.
Great ladder.
Man,
I don't remember any world's longest ladder except for Metal Gear Solid 3.
Oh, that game has one too. So this game has a ladder. I don't know why that has stuck in my mind, but there's one ladder where you go up hella high, and I just think about it.
I remember that.
That game.
Yeah, I mean, I at this point, any of these kind of shows, I'm just, I will be surprised if there's anything that jumps out at me where it's like, oh, this looks amazing, right? I mean, aside, Spider-Man 2, but we know too much already.
It's a known quantity.
Yeah, known quantity. So I'm good. I mean, if like they drop like a 30-second teaser for like Ghost of Tsushima 2, just to confirm that they were even working on it, because we still don't know for sure. I mean, I'm sure they are, but it's.
I mean, right now Sony just ends after Spider-Man 2.
Yeah, right? There's nothing. There is nothing. I mean, I can't think of a single release next year aside from maybe Final Fantasy, but that's not a first-party game.
That's kind of exciting, though. Honestly, I'm kind of excited that we don't know anything. Yeah,
it's exciting in that it could be anything, but it could be anything means it might not be something I'm interested in.
So yeah, they're gonna next June. You're gonna hear 10 new live service games, Hogue, from Sony. That's exciting. Get excited.
I don't hate live service as much as some, but I would like to know what it is that they're even doing a little bit. I think you all are being very moderate and considered in your positions. I'm going to say this show was trash.
Nice.
Whoa.
Nice. I like it.
Let's take baby steps.
It's not often we hear trash from Hogue. The word
that's
trash.
Pretty aggressive.
Yeah, that's aggressive from Hogue.
I cannot condone that word.
Even the stuff that looked cool or interesting was stuff that they did in their like little mini showcase when they didn't want to participate in E3, but also didn't want to be forgotten about. So they couldn't decide whether to do a show or not. So they did a half show, and then they did a half show that just kind of followed up on the other show and did the things that we already saw. It's like, pick a lane.
I just don't think they accomplished much with it. Like the end result was like, okay, we've got a release date for Final Fantasy, and that's probably the biggest news out of the whole thing. And that's it. I mean, so it just doesn't add up. I mean, I don't think it was worth it for them to kind of do it now. I think you didn't accomplish much at the end of the day.
I didn't like it. I didn't like the show, and that's coming off of a Nintendo show that, while I thought was better, I didn't love. So it was an interesting day because you saw these shows line up on the same day, and you're like, all right, we're going to get some news today. And I watched both of them. The Nintendo one was better, but it clearly has the indicia of kind of the slowing down of the Nintendo Switch train.
It did.
Which we can talk about when we get to that show.
It was a victory lap, for sure.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think it probably didn't help that the Sony showcase opened by a guy staring to the camera and saying "F you" 3 times at Hoag's daughter, and then I think it probably put a damper on things. But yeah, I get it. I look, I think it was a weaker show because people are expecting announcements, but they showed some cool stuff. I'm gonna play Baby Steps. I'm gonna play Final Fantasy Rebirth. I'm gonna play Spider-Man 2. Those all look like cool things, but I think there's
Rebirth. I really enjoyed Remake, but I mean, Rebirth is the continuation from Remake, so I have to be cautiously optimistic about that project after the end of Remake.
Me too. I'm 100% there with you. I do not like where they're going with the story meta thing that they're doing. I think there's an expectation game to putting on shows like this, and I don't think that anybody has become really good at managing that. Because if PlayStation announced a state of play after they didn't do an E3 and there's all these expectations heaped onto it, they're sort of setting themselves up for disappointment. And I think somebody should have, I know that they said like it's going to be focused on mostly third parties, but I don't even think that description is very good. They should have said like, it's, upcoming games we've already announced that we just want to do deep dives on, or we want to show more into, or whatever. But I just don't think that expectation game has been won at all by some of the people doing the shows. And I think that's why so many people came into it thinking it was one thing and then just getting not really a lot out of it.
The marketing people really struggle with, this isn't that important, don't watch.
They really do. They really do.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know. Didn't do much for me, but that's fine.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not broken up about it or anything.
No. But I mean, generally speaking, unless it's like one of these major hour-and-a-half long June conferences, right? I don't even get that pump for these anymore because we've had this happen so many times now, right? Like it's very rare to get.
Sony just opted out of that at all, right? So we get none of that. And you assume that it'll filter in through the rest of their little shows, and it just hasn't.
No. And that goes back to what you already said, which is after Spider-Man 2, we're drawing a blank here in terms of first party, which is, I think we joked about this before. I know we've said it before, but it's kind of funny because we used to give Xbox a lot of crap for not knowing what they had coming or not having anything coming. And now we're sitting in the reverse. And that's not to say I'm 100% sure PlayStation has some really, really good things coming, but it is kind of a weird place to be where we don't know what that is.
There's not a whole lot to look forward to. Like, I mean, like as far as from their first party output that we know of, that they've announced. I mean, maybe, factions maybe next year, and that's, I don't really care.
We've been hearing that for like the past 2 years.
Right. Yeah, who the hell knows?
I guess I was surprised to not see a 20-minute deep dive into Last of Us multiplayer. I thought for sure that was coming. I thought
we were going to get Last of Us 2 remaster.
Yeah, that's
God.
I think they're going to do it.
They'll wait for the show. They'll wait for the show.
That's exactly what I was thinking, Ains, because I think the second season, they've already been talking about it. So I'm kind of expecting like, and to coincide with the show, replay the whole thing again, this time in 50 HD 40D.
I'm not going through that pain again. I'm not playing that game again. I'm done with it. Done with Last of Us 2. I'm
going to play it because I'm trying to work on my stroke game.
That could be taken in so many different ways. We're
I'm getting into golfing, and I want some golf tips. I heard that game has a lot of good recommendations for me.
Yep, hole in one. Helldivers 2, though, I do like the look of. That does look like a lot of fun. It almost looks like Starship Troopers, kind of in a way.
Helldivers, the first one, is awesome. So,
am I wrong in thinking is Helldivers 1? It was like top down, wasn't it?
Yes, it was. Yeah, isometric. Yeah. So they took a different approach with this one. It looks obviously kind of more fully featured, but I guess we'll see how it performs. By the way, that comes out February 8th. Helldivers 2. So, and then Avatar obviously is right at the beginning of December. So that's I think that's the latest AAA release we know of this year, right now, anyway. So we'll see.
Can't get much later.
No, exactly. But then, not moving on, because actually the Direct came first, but Nintendo had their latest Direct. I will run through these games, guys. Again, not covering every single game they showed, but the highlights. So they have Mario versus Donkey Kong, which is coming February 16th. They have Super Mario RPG, which we obviously already knew about, but that's November 17th, in case you forgot. They announced Tomb Raider 1 to 3 remastered, which is coming February 14th on Valentine's Day. Princess Peach Showtime, which is coming March 22nd. So we got a lot of dates here, which is cool. Luigi's Mansion 2 HD, so kind of like their light remaster, if you will, of that, is coming summer of next year. We got a new Contra called Operation, I think that's Galuga or Galaga, whatever. That's just coming. It's just coming soon. F-Zero 99, which was like a big, kind of like a Tetris 99 version of F-Zero, if you will. That's available now. That was a shadow drop, if you will, during the show. Paper Mario: The Thousand-Year Door is coming next year, 2024. Dave the Diver, which Travis has talked about on this show and reviewed and gave a very high score to, is out now on the Switch, so you can check that out on the Switch.
Yeah, now it's time for Hogue to play it. It's time for Hogue to play it.
So I got it on PC, but is that out on Switch now?
I think it's either out or it's coming out really soon.
Yeah, I looked it up this morning. It says it's out. Like the trailer they had on Nintendo's channel was out now on Switch. Okay.
Damn.
And then Mario Kart 8
is great.
Yeah. And then Mario Kart 8, Splatoon 3, they're kind of live service titles, for lack of a better word, because they are. Those got their latest updates. There were other games shown, of course. There's more I didn't touch on. If I miss one, you can call me out. But I
think again, another code. I think they're bringing back Trace Memory.
Okay. I think don't know anything about that game. But so you said you like this better than State of Play. I would agree. I'm not even usually, as we joked about, right? I don't play my Switch a lot, but I thought this was just a better show. There was more there, more substance, and they had a lot of dates for releases that had a good spread to them, right? From all the way from October through spring of next year.
I would say there's no question in my mind, and this should go along with them starting it really, that Nintendo is the best at this right now. Is it the best at directs? Is it the best at spacing things out and having different kind of qualities of their announcements as you go across the show, right? So they have a little section where they're going to talk about racing indies, and they have a little section that they're going to talk about their big games, and they keep that flow going a lot better than Sony, for the most part, just dumps YouTube trailers in a playlist, and Microsoft is kind of too all over the place with whenever they're doing something and what kind of show it is, because they like to do like 4 different types of shows. So they have a developer show, and they have this is going to be like E3, and then this is going to be like a State of Play.
Yeah, I'd say Xbox's summer show is excellent, but their other shows have been really hit or miss.
And all over the place, and they name them all sorts of things, right? It's an Xbox showcase, or designer diary, or whatever. And so I think Nintendo has got this down. They don't do like puppet shows anymore. They don't do skits in between the announcements. But I think their shows tend to be the best, however you feel about the product line. I think the product line here is a little disappointing. I think they've continued with their Switch strategy, which is remaking everything ever and putting it on the Switch. But as you continue to mine that, you get into lesser and lesser products. You get into things that are a little bit weirder and more esoteric. I mean, Mario versus Donkey Kong was fine on the Game Boy 100 years ago, but I'm not going to get excited about that.
Yeah,
I am.
Yeah. No, I'm with you. Yeah, I don't really have much to add. What do you guys think?
I thought it was good. I agree that they're relying a little too much on old stuff that's coming, but which is kind of their MO in some cases. I feel like they lean on that as like a safety net because it's always going to make people happy when they bring back an old game. But that Peach game looks sick.
Showtime looks fun.
Yeah, I want to play it. So it was good. I'll give it a 7 out of 10.
Speaking of mining, we've gone past the Toads and past Mario and past Luigi to arrive at Peach Goes to the Theater.
Yeah. Also, wasn't Luigi's Mansion 2 was another one that they
said that. Luigi's Mansion 2 is a remake from a DS game.
Yeah. No, I know that. I'm just saying that was like another one that got another remake, which I'll play it, but yeah, it's like, all right, we already played that one. Got it.
Yeah, no, I like those games. I'll probably get another Luigi's Mansion. I'll definitely get Princess Peach Showtime. So I'm not going to sit here and tell you that there wasn't stuff to like in that show. But certainly when we got to, I can't remember, like 3/4 of the way through the show, and they're like, we're remaking this. I was like, we got to be out of stuff soon.
Yeah. Yeah, it's a lot of that. And I think you said it well, which is you can feel the tail end of the Switch coming. I think what's really interesting though is we talked a little bit about this at the tail end of last week, but with as much as they've leaned into these remakes and kind of curating their past 20 years plus onto the Switch, right? So you can pay them extra money to play it now on your current console. It's going to be really interesting to see what their strategy is with whatever their next console is, right? Next year, the Switch 2, or if they call it something else. And backwards compatibility is probably one of the top questions, right? Are they going to continue those digital purchases, or are the cartridges going to work?
Nintendo, I'm going to sit here right now and tell you, if you do not make your Switch 2 Super Switch thing backward compatible, I'm out. I'm out, man.
Ooh.
Too much money spent in the Switch ecosystem on this generation. So,
well, that's what I was going to say. You've sold for years now remakes nonstop at almost full price a lot of the times. So to turn that away for your next generation would certainly be a move, but it's
I gotta
Nintendo.
believe it's backward compatible, but Nintendo
Didn't they already say it was? Or that when that insider leak thing, I thought that said something about like the cartridges being
well, a leak and an announcement are not the same thing.
Right. But I mean, that was that they're working on. The
presumption is that yes, it is going to be backwards compatible.
Yeah.
I think today, like, people's digital libraries are really important to them, and you can't really afford to have a digital library that you're selling to people that is not carried forward. Like that would be unprecedented and super anti-consumer, and I think it would screw up a lot of things. And Nintendo knows that. I have no doubt.
Momentum. It really would. They have this glut of people that really join Nintendo now with the Switch, and you wouldn't think they would be silly enough to cut that off on the crossover. But Nintendo does weird things.
They do.
Yeah, I'm not. That's why I'm being quiet, because Nintendo, every time we think they're going to do something, they do something else. So,
yeah, I mean, I could see them not making physical backwards compatible because they have a weird cartridge situation, and I think that's unavoidable. That's why backwards compatibility wasn't a thing in previous consoles, is because sometimes the format and medium didn't really fit into the new console, and that's understandable. But I don't think they have an excuse anymore when the vast majority of their games are sold digitally and don't have a cartridge that needs to be inserted. And I think they know that they have the infrastructure to support a digital backwards compatible environment. So I don't see it happening personally, and I think if they did, it would be a huge snafu.
Certainly digitally,
they have a cartoon word. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, they have an account system. They have an online system. You can buy subscriptions. Like, it's just very different than I have a GameCube with some tiny discs, and I'm sad I can't put them in my new console, which you could, by the way, in the Wii. You could play the GameCube games, but yeah, it's not that anymore. It's you have an account, you have a subscription that you're paying for yearly. It's just a very different ecosystem, and I don't think they have an excuse.
So I hadn't thought about this until right now, but let's assume that we get the Super Switch or whatever it is late next year, right? Fall release for this console. What do you call it? Tears of the Kingdom just came out, right? We're getting Mario Wonder here next month. What is going to be their big launch title to bring you into that new system? You think they have
the Mario 3D team? We don't have any idea what Mario 3D is doing.
So that's my first thing in my head was Mario 3D or Tears of the Kingdom expansion, or we finally see Metroid Prime 4, and that's where they've been hiding it. What do you think?
Metroid doesn't move units like the others, I don't think.
That's true. That's true. Yeah. It doesn't.
I also don't know if we're going to see anything from Metroid.
What'd you say, Dan?
It's a Mario Kart game.
Mario Kart is a live service game now. They just keep putting out DLC for Mario Kart 8, which is crushing it. So,
yeah.
Mario Kart 8 is great.
Mario Kart 8, which is a Wii U game. We always remind people it's a Wii U game, is the best-selling game on the Switch. Yeah. It's like 68 million copies. It's absurd.
As it should be.
Well, they mind the Wii U.
It's a great game.
The good news for all of this for Nintendo is you can have a complete flop generation, and if you can get a good enough win on the next generation, you can just go and resell the stuff that didn't work the first time.
That's right. Pikmin 3? Anyone?
No.
Yeah.
I have all the Pikmin.
Hell yeah, you do. It's because you're my boy, Hoke.
We're bonded.
You're my boy, Hoke. You're my boy. Well, I guess we'll see. I am excited at the prospect of new hardware from Nintendo. I can tell you that much. But Yeah,
all these
we'll see.
backhanded compliments for mains when it comes to Nintendo.
Well, they're hard.
Really,
I don't think it's a stretch to say their hardware's dated. Give me a break. Come on.
yeah, their hardware's dated, but
It's trash.
sometimes
It's all right.
Trash.
it's a state of mind. You know what I mean? It's like
No, it's not.
it's a little. They're doing good things with their hardware.
No,
I-
these
I-
guys
They are
End game
100%. But hardware specifications is not a state of mind. That's
I
a
did
fact.
see the Mortal Kombat 1,
I'm
I'm
saying,
saying
Switch
it being
videos. Those are
dated
great.
is a state of mind.
Oh,
Yeah.
fair. Okay, fair.
Yeah.
what Nintendo makes with the Switch hardware is often as impressive, if not more impressive, than some of the
They
other stuff.
do.
Art direction
Yeah.
matters.
Absolutely, it does. Yeah.
I think-
Tears of the Kingdom is a beautiful game.
Yeah, I think that if your hardware is serving the purpose of pushing innovation and creating great pieces of entertainment, then it is not dated. Even if it's not as powerful as some of what some of the other players are doing. But that said,
It's a
no
different
problem with
audience.
people being excited about new hardware. I just don't know if it's going to change a whole
I've
lot
wanted
for
the Switch
Nintendo
to get a
'cause they
power
make
upgrade for
specific
years.
types of games. You know what I mean?
Sure. Yeah, I'm not expecting a
Yeah.
super
Mario to
advanced
come out and
PC
swear at
level.
you.
Yeah.
Mario to come out and swear at you as he reloads
No.
a shotgun. And
No, but it would be
like-
nice to see that art direction be able to be kind of enhanced even further, right? They have great designers over there. So if we get a new 3D Mario, and I loved Odyssey, I don't think it's my favorite Mario game, but I loved it. If we see a new 3D Mario that's just ultra pretty and that kind of art direction, it's going to be fantastic. I'll be there day one.
That'll be a big day. They will sell some Super Switches.
dark, gritty Mario Souls-like.
No,
It opens with Mario cursing 3 times at Hoag's daughter, and then
and then a
you know,
Koopa
yeah.
kidnaps you.
Koopa kidnaps you, and then he gets dismembered, and it's just really gory. It's pretty cool game.
As long as I get to play Tomb Raider, 1 through 3 remastered.
They could call it Lies of a Me.
Oh my god!
I like Tomb Raider.
And then the show.
I don't know that modern gamers are really gonna love Tomb Raider, provided that they kept the block system and everything else.
Yeah, I
That's
mean,
what it looked
Tomb Raider 1 is a dated game. I mean, to use the word dated, yeah,
Tomb Raider
it's a
is
long
literally
time
Prince
ago.
of Persia in 3D, right down to
Yes.
taking the back step and getting ready for the run and everything else. So
Correct.
people that don't have even that as a touch point, I think maybe aren't going to like it at all, because it
Right.
did look like the remasters, because this is the only way you can remaster that game, kept the blocks, right? They just kind of threw newer textures on the block system. So
Yeah,
that's
that
what
looks
I would
kind of
want,
funny.
but we'll see.
Yeah.
I mean,
Dan,
who
Well,
asked
yeah.
for it? That's what I want to know. Like,
Who
it
asked
was
for
like
it?
a huge fan base. It was like, we really need to remaster these 3 games that we're defining.
Lara Croft's still pretty popular.
Oh, I have no
I
doubt.
love those old games too. I will definitely replay the old.
I
games.
loved them
They were
in their
great.
time.
Right.
Yeah, in their time.
Oh,
Tomb
I
Raider
would
2.
totally play them today. To be honest
No.
with you.
You say that now.
Tomb Raider 2 with its little Italian Venice boats and everything
Yes.
else. Like,
Yeah, the mansion that you start off in, and you can swan dive off of the balcony and break your neck in the opening area. It's amazing, dude. I would just play just for that. To be honest with you.
It's kind of like GoldenEye. Everyone's like, "Oh God, we need the remake of GoldenEye. We need it. We need it. We need it." It releases. No one cares.
Terrible.
No one cares.
I mean,
Yeah, I
what
knew.
the hell, man?
To be in my defense, I always thought GoldenEye is mid. So, I thought it was mid.
It's
when I
just
was
it's a
kid.
different era for games, man. Design have come a long way.
laziness,
And then
or
again,
is it
I
just
do the
like-
same thing with Parasite Eve. Like I'm dying for Parasite Eve to come back.
Yeah, but
and
if
it's
if they did that and they just remastered it and they just added some better textures, it would be garbage. Because the gameplay is so dated. It doesn't matter how many what you paint on it, and
and
make it
I'm
look a little
emotionally harmed by you stating that Parasite Eve is garbage.
better. No, it's one of my favorite PlayStation games. I'm just saying the gameplay now compared
Parasite
to
Eve
what
is
we
a great
have,
choice for a remaster, because
it would be
no
a great
game
choice
has
for a
that
complete
vibe.
remake.
yeah.
Also,
like
it
a
looked
Resident Evil
so
type
good
remake.
back in those days. Oh my god, I
100%.
remember that trailer scared me so much. I was a very small child, but it's a good game.
Sure.
I have been yelling for a remake for Parasite Eve for
I
a long
was.
time. It was so
It's
I
good.
funny
really-
because I haven't thought
Yes,
about Parasite
it's
Eve in
true.
a long time, but I was playing Eternights, and it has some stuff with a biological weapon and some other things that are happening in it. And I was thinking, this is very much a Parasite Eve kind of feel.
I'm gonna have to check it out.
Oh, okay. All right.
Damn it.
Parasite Eve. I was looking up screenshots of it. 1998. It looks like Resident Evil 1, basically.
Don't put new textures on it and then release it again. The gameplay needs to improve, and they just need to Resident Evil it. You know, they
you want a Resident Evil remake?
Wake, to be honest, I had the same problem with Alan Wake, where I just feel like the gameplay was even worse.
Oh yeah, I played some of that this week too.
Hoeg's gonna go off on you.
Hold on. Look, we need to nail down what Travis just said. Did you just say that the gameplay in Alan Wake is worse than Parasite Eve? Is that what you're going with?
No. I said it was even worse than when it originally came out, because it aged. You know what I mean? Like, I would have liked them to remake some of the gameplay stuff in Alan Wake because the story's so good. But like me trying to get through that game to show somebody else how good Alan Wake was, they were just like, dude, I can't do it. And I feel like if the gameplay is turning you off from a game that you should play Alan Wake, but the gameplay makes it hard to get through sometimes.
I love Alan Wake, and I was just playing the remaster yesterday. It didn't make it on the Post-it note, but I was.
Yeah. So, well, the fact that it didn't make it on the Post-it note, no. Maybe if they remade the
no, I didn't put games that you already knew I was playing on the Post-it note. Starfield didn't make it on the Post-it note either. It was not a commentary on Starfield.
Oof, that's a box quote right there. Wow, Starfield didn't make it on my Post-it note.
That's it. It's a wrap. Metacritic rating 72. It's going all
7
the way
out of 10. Starfield, not Post-it note worthy. Terrible.
I like Illithbook saying Eternal Darkness. That's one of my absolute favorites too. Eternal Darkness was great.
Yeah, classic. I think that's one of those games, isn't it now, Eternal Darkness, because it never came anywhere else. It's just GameCube. I think it's worth a bunch of money, right? The original copies of that. That's
you never
classic.
played Eternal Darkness, Dan?
Yeah, it's a classic.
I don't remember if I did.
Oh, that was Travis saying that? Travis never played Eternal Darkness?
I never played Eternal Darkness, no.
I don't even know what it is.
At least I don't think so. I don't recognize the title.
Oh.
How long ago?
Eternal Darkness is GameCube. It's that era.
2002, 2003-ish. It did some really unique things with fear, basically, kind of playing tricks on the player. Yeah, it's pretty good. Yeah, it goes for about $80 to $100. Okay.
This does not look familiar.
Yeah, it's a classic. A lot of people have called for that to come back for 20 years now. So
I'm okay with that kind of stuff. I just feel like it's a waste of time to do stuff like that Tomb Raider one, and just a waste of a skill set. It's like, hey, what are we working on? Oh, we're gonna remaster Tomb Raider 1 through 3. It's like, oh, all right.
I mean, that's Aspire, right? So Aspire's the ones that were working on KOTOR, and that died. So I mean, this could just be them making.
You mean that died? That died too. Missed that one.
Oh, that one had all sorts of issues. That KOTOR remake that they showed at the PlayStation show last year, or 2 years ago, whenever that was, it has all sorts of issues.
Perfect.
Yeah. By the way, we had a super chat from Debbie W that has been sitting here a while, so sorry about that, Debbie.
Sure.
Let's grab that.
The $5 super chat. I love that Rick is playing Starfield as a lawyer. Ask all of the people all of the questions.
I don't know.
They're all leading questions, though.
Yeah,
he's trying to entrap them. Yeah, it's
very funny because Starfield has a setup that is pretty much the same across people, where the first 1 to 3 options are clearly to move the conversation forward, and then you get the background questions below them. So I generally go bottom to top.
I wish they would have color coded them, by the way.
Yeah, really, I mean, that's the standard way of doing it.
Every other game does that. Yeah, it's weird.
Yeah, I was just playing Cyberpunk, like I said, last night and this morning. It's the same thing, Hoeg. It's you have the yellow one at the top, which advances, right? But then you have the blue ones underneath, which is if you want to know more of the lore, it's there.
Right, and that's how they did The Witcher.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Debbie, thank you. Sorry we got to the super chat a little late there, but thank you very much. Always good to see you in the chat. All right,
I always
guys.
talk to everybody as much as I can in those games.
Even Mass Effect did it.
Me too.
Old games did that with the color coding. It's very bizarre to me. Also, did you see
Mass
this
Effect
week?
also had you respond in a pie wedge? So hey.
Yeah. Did you see this week that they're talking about adding maps? So apparently it wasn't a design choice. It was just they just didn't add maps. Apparently they weren't that committed to it.
About it, but I'm not. I did see that they mentioned it. I'm not sure whether they will add them soon or not. I'm against it.
They committed to adding it in the thing. But yeah, to your point, you said it was a design, or you were speculating that it was a design decision because they wanted you to explore, and it seems based on their feedback that was not the case because they're adding it.
Or they heard enough people yelling about it that they're like, shit, we better add some
design.
maps.
Well, then they didn't stand. Yeah, they didn't obviously believe in it, that because if you believe in it, you explain it to your audience like, hey, we know you want maps, but here's our reasoning. But they didn't go that route, which
we know that doesn't happen all the time, right? We see Blizzard change their minds every other video.
Oh yeah, and I see Destiny do it every week. Somebody complains and they go, hey, what we said we believe in, we no longer believe in. And I'm like, what are you guys doing? So yeah, I know, I get it.
So Ade's asking you, Hoeg. Ade said, why are you against the maps? He wants to know.
Why am I against the maps? I'm in favor of what the game currently is, which is presenting you in a space that you actually learn rather than having you go to a mini map or refer to your minus button all the time. And so I think they accomplished that pretty well. Now, I don't think they can actually ruin what I like about that system, which is that mostly the quests are given to you with landmarks and discussions of where you have to go. And that'll have to stay in because that's in dialogue and quest design. But I don't think that you should need a map in these various places if you're paying attention to your surroundings.
I'll just make it a toggleable option then. I mean,
Hoeg just said the closest thing I've ever heard Hoeg say to get good. He said get good with directions. It's kind of impressive.
I mean, I think learning where you are.
You should be able to
wait a minute.
That was good.
And I will say, Hoeg, unless my memory is failing, which it is in many ways. I swear I remember you a couple weeks ago when we first talked about Starfield complaining that you had to remember where everything was. Am I wrong on this?
No, I don't think so. I think in a
modern society it made sense for there to be like the mall maps.
Oh,
like if that's all they were adding.
Yes.
He wanted it all they were adding.
I would be okay with like a flint that says you are here and gives you a kind of notion of what the city map is. But I didn't mind learning it, and I certainly feel more about those spaces than I would have if I were just playing minimap game the whole time.
Yeah, I feel that. I could see that as well. I think I've told you before, these types of things like not hand holding per se, but those types of assists, lack of them doesn't bother me as much as other people. Because to your point, I think it is part of the charm for me, and maybe I'm in the minority, part of the charm of like going to Neon and saying, oh, this store is here and this store is here, and kind of learning the layout of it, right? And just acclimating to your surroundings. So, but I know other people, I think part of the problem, wouldn't you guys agree that part of the problem is modern 3D, for lack of a better phrase, open world or layout design? Almost all those games have maps. And so when you get used to having them in every game you play for years on end, when a game doesn't have one, it jumps out to you like, where the hell's the map?
Yeah, it's like the developer we had on from Dragon Age at EA. He was telling us about like table stakes features where like players just
Mark Dara. I remembered his name, thankfully.
Mark Dara, yeah. Mark Dara, he told us a little bit about that, and maps feel like a table stakes thing where as soon as you realize it's not in there, like a lot of people touch that back button a lot in the early game. They're just expecting it to be there, and then they find out it's not, and it is very confusing. But I think there's a way they can do maps to make it useful to players without taking away exploration. I think the way they do city maps now, where each map is basically like a little bit of a node, could work. I don't know if it's the best solution, but my big problem with it is, for some people that ruins the game. For people who just like don't have a good sense of direction and don't want to have to remember everything, which I empathize with. It also sucks to have already been to a place and simply not remember where it is. You're like, I learned this, but I forgot because I had to put the game down for a couple of weeks, and now I don't remember where anything is. And also it feels a little weird because in world you would expect that they have the technology to have a map on like your watch or whatever because it's future, right? So it also just feels like in the world they don't have maps.
In the world for a second, because one thing that has jumped out at me in Starfield that I hadn't thought about before is that it very much feels like you're a stranger in the society that they have. That you've been brought in through time, like a caveman lawyer, into the Starfield land and have to get everything explained to you. And I don't know that they're set up for the game properly. Kind of introduces you in that way. You're a person in the Starfield universe before the game starts, and it doesn't have that kind of you've been captured and transported in time or something. So a lot of the conversations are a little weird for who you should be in any capacity in Starfield.
Mhm.
Yeah.
And I have noticed that the more that I've played, right? When you get told things, and it's like, surely someone that is an adult in this universe has to know that.
Yeah, you grew up in a you were a wild child in somebody's basement, and then they unleashed.
Well, one of my
you.
favorite space exploration games, Star Control 2, has a background of you were a colonist on a backwater planet that lost communications with the universe. And so when you come back and everybody's explaining everything to you, it all fits together, right? And Starfield doesn't have that. You're just a guy. And yet you're like, wait, what? How does the UC work?
Yeah,
like,
so that's because you can even choose backgrounds that, like, I chose like Neon Street Rat and stuff, and so my character's super knowledgeable in certain areas. Like somebody will say something in Neon, and then I'll have the option of being like, yeah, I know all about how corrupt the city is. I was born on its streets. And then like later I'll be talking to somebody else in the city, and they'll be like, hey, do you like this drug on Neon? And my character will be like, what drug? Explain what drugs are. And so it does have a little bit of like wait, what? I don't feel like I know who my character is. It gets in the way of role playing.
Just a little. It's
a nitpick for sure.
Yeah. To your point too, I just want to emphasize your point, Travis, around you said like putting the game down and picking it back up. That's one of the key things too. And you don't have these kind of things that people are used to. These games are huge, right? And all of us now are playing so many of these giant AAA games at times that, like, if you put Starfield down for a couple months and then come back to it, you're not going to remember where any of this stuff is. You know what I mean? And if being a game that's going to be played for years to come, that can be a little disjointing. Hell, last night when I loaded up Cyberpunk, it took me a good 45 minutes to probably figure out what the hell I was doing. Like, how's the quest log work? What's the inventory look like now? What buttons do I hit to activate things? You know, it's just a whole bunch of reacclimating to that game. So that's compounded, I think, when you don't have things that are expected by the majority of your player base.
I think we can all agree.
I noted that they said they were adding maps, and I said that's interesting because it doesn't feel like the design is for city maps. But I do think the design also doesn't go far enough, as we talked about when we first had this conversation about Starfield, in like letting you know where things are. I noticed this particularly in the activities. So you just collect this list of like 100 activities. And you start out hearing where you pass people, and like you don't know what planet, you don't know what star system that's in. It just says like talk to Greg. And you're like, Greg? And like
Greg is about 4 solar systems away.
If you hit it, it'll give you a line, but you don't know whether that's on your planet, in your building, or on a different star system. And like they should have
to
like
sort them. Yeah.
They should have a parenthetical that says, you know, Sirius 2A or whatever, and they don't.
Yeah. Sid does have a good point in the chat too, that technically this isn't really open world, right? Like you're going hub to hub to hub. But I think some of what we're saying is still kind of
that's
pertinent.
the confusing part though, because it's formatted like an open world game and has no open world areas. You know what I mean? Like it's
a weird mix. It's a weird mix.
It's a weird.
Yeah.
I like I said, I like this game a lot. I put 250 hours into it, and I still plan on finishing it. But like, I don't know if you guys got into the temples part, but that has really annoyed the crap out of me.
I have no temples in my Starfield.
Once you guys start getting to temples, I think we need to revisit this and have more complaints, because that
water
one,
temple, here we come, folks.
I'm pretty annoyed at the temples part of the game. If you guys get to that part, so
yeah,
I don't know. This seems to be a religious commentary now.
Yeah.
Rob said, I tried to smuggle Aurora by jamming it on the outside of my ship between some exterior components, but it didn't work. Nope. They found it.
Yeah, they find everything if it's on or in your ship, and you need to just invest in some shielded cargo, my dude.
Dude, I did shielded that so early. I'm like, I need shield. As soon as you told me about shielded cargo, I was like, I need it.
Hell yeah, shielded cargo is the jam, and then if you can get a comms jammer as well. I have.
I'm not smuggling.
Oh, I'm smuggling harvested organs by the truckload, dude. I fill up my ship with. I have like 12,000 cargo space, and it's all harvested organs.
So what do you need? Liver, kidney?
I suddenly wanted to be multiplayer, so I could just come say hi to your ship.
Oh, dude, my ship is.
He's trying to take your organs.
Yeah, he's trying to take my organs, bro. This is
Travis' ship is bristling with weaponry. He's like, oh yeah,
oh, it is.
Ship.
It's a giant freighter with as much storage as possible, and then weapons on the exterior, and it's got all the best parts. It's cost me like 3 million credits to build that ship.
Dan, I do think once you eventually turn Baldur's Gate 3 off next year, you should start playing Starfield, because I think just the way you enjoy kind of games and the things you like about Baldur's Gate 3 of like random mission here and random things you can find, Starfield does that extremely well. Right. It's loaded to the brim with things to find and do and discover. And I think once you get into it, you'll probably get lost in it.
Yeah. That's why I'm waiting, because there's too much other stuff. I'm going to give it its proper due, probably, after Spider-Man 2.
After Spider-Man.
I think that's, you shouldn't go into a game. I mean, like you just talked about, trying to jump back into something after, you've jumped over to something else. I'm the worst at that. Like I have to, there's really times where I actually have to go back.
Especially Baldur's Gate and Starfield. They're both way too big. Yeah. You can't jump between those two.
I have to go back to like play a couple levels of a tutorial or something just to remember how everything works. And my brain doesn't work that way. Sometimes I get so focused on, whatever game I'm playing and after about a month,
it is annoying.
I start listening.
You could be binging something on Netflix and it'll have a previously on every freaking episode, but you can't get a previously on for your 120-hour RPG.
Yeah, just a little 2-minute. Hey, this is how you shoot. This is how you do this, and
there are some games that have done that with like their loading screens where they talk about like the last main things you've done. I always like that. I thought that was cool.
Hey, Hogue, I meant to ask you about this because I know you and I are both dark on Alan Wake. Are they still doing the episode model where they're doing like episode TV show intros?
I don't believe they have said, but they are still cross media, so they're having a lot of full motion video in it. I know that, but the whole they did previously ons in between each act and stuff. I wonder if that's. I don't know. I have not looked at anything with that game. I'm very excited. I was going to say, you guys have the first look. I figure you have a copy of Alan Wake 2.
I know, but I have explicitly not looked at any of that stuff in our CMS.
I haven't watched any of it either.
I don't want to get spoiled, man. I'm just
especially that type of game too. Like Alan Wake 2 is one we waited so long for, and it's so kind of narrative focused. The last thing I want to do is catch a stray of something I didn't want to see ahead of time. So, yeah, I'm with you guys. Rob Frawley just said, I shot a nice man point blank in the back of the head after helping him with parts to fix his ship. I decided I wanted it.
That's fair.
At Starfield. If that's what you want to do.
What you got to do in this universe. And I'll leave that. Yeah. As Sarah Morgan will tell you, she does not judge right before she judges you.
Did you see the mod I shared?
Terrible.
Sarah's fun. Did you see the mod I shared where you can put like Slipknot shirts on her? It looks like she's attending a Slipknot concert.
I did see that. It does not redeem her personality, unfortunately. If they could, if there's a DLC to change everything about who she is as a person, I could suddenly be in favor of her. But
Sarah is fine. Don't listen to Travis.
Yeah,
she's not fine. Double tap her at the earliest opportunity.
All right. We got a member comment from Hello Darkness, my old friend. I've come to talk to you again. Appreciate that.
And with the gaming dino.
And the gaming dino. And I do sadly want to announce, I don't know how this has happened, but on our Twizzler versus Redvine poll, which has been running in the background with 100 votes or just below 100 votes, Twizzlers has taken it by a two-thirds vote.
Stunning. I would have assumed that Redvine's is the easy choice. Wow, is it really?
That is the power of branding. You're 100%.
No, it's the power of actual flavor is what it is. Because red vines taste like ass.
Twizzlers do not have better flavor than red vine.
That's
a fresh Twizzler, which is only fresh for about 2 minutes after you open the package.
Fresh Twizzler. I've never had one.
Yeah,
you need a fresh
Twizzlers. My problem with Twizzlers is you ever touch a Twizzler and your hands just are the texture of Twizzler for the rest of the day. I hate that. I don't like that they're sticky all the time. That's really bothersome to me.
Just it's like Wally Wallaby or something like that.
Yes,
it's like an
Australian licorice. Yeah,
Haynes, I love that sometimes when you laugh, you look down underneath your baseball cap like you're about to choose your next Pokemon. I love that. I love that look. Like you're really thinking about which Pokeball you're gonna throw out, man.
Yes,
it's really good.
But anyway, so yeah, I think we'll talk about Tokyo Game Show next week. That, just so you're aware, that starts this Thursday, runs through the Sunday, of course. Like Sunday, Xbox is having a showcase on Thursday. I think Square Enix is having one on Friday, and there's also Sega, Koei Tecmo, Capcom, bunch of the other obviously Japanese focused big companies doing kind of mini shows and showing things off. So if you're interested in those companies and what they put out, pay attention to that. And we'll talk more about that next week, of course. And then, yeah, I think that, we just got a late super chat from Sid.
Siddharth with the 200 Indian rupees this time. What are your thoughts on Sam Lake wanting to make longer games? Personally, Remedy doesn't need it, but multiple characters might lend to that nicely. Control was kind of long, wasn't it?
Personally,
let him break a little bit longer.
Personally, I would say let Sam Lake do whatever Sam Lake wants to do. If he wants to make longer games, I trust him, and let's see what he does.
As long as it's not Control, yeah.
No,
I mean, I think.
Dare you?
I think longer games are fine. Obviously, I like bigger experiences, but I think when you're talking about narrative games, sometimes longer is worse because pacing really matters.
You like JRPGs?
I do like
the
JRPGs.
Longest stories with the worst pacing.
No, I would say the longest stories with the worst pacing probably start with Red and end with Redemption.
Oh no! Oh no!
You activated Ains's trap
card. No! No, I actually, if there's one, I do have complaints with Red Dead 2, and pacing is probably the top one, but it doesn't have good pacing. I fully admit that. Yes, that's true.
I love the pacing of that game.
Still an amazing, absolutely incredible game with the best open world ever developed. But
would Alan Wake be better with Devil May Cry combat or Dark Souls bosses like Travis seems to want from time to time?
Would Alan Wake be
better if it was twice as long?
Do not put words in my mouth, sir. It would be better if you are going to do third-person shooter gameplay. I am well within my rights to demand that gameplay be good and not just you holding down LT and occasionally tapping RT.
The action should inform the story, and you're a writer that fights darkness with light. I really don't think there's anything wrong
with
the gun.
That part doesn't make sense. You're forgetting the part that you are a munitions expert as a writer. If you were just using flashlights and they did a combat system all based on that, I'd be
have like one revolver.
Whoa. Shotgun. You get a rifle later.
You get a hunting rifle.
You get grenades. There's a whole bunch of guns in that game, and firing them is not fun. That is a legit criticism.
I mean, you can criticize however you want, but we've talked about this. When you're making a game that's narrative focused, whether it's The Witcher or Alan Wake, I would prefer for your combat to inform your story and your role playing and your experience.
100%. But that informed gameplay decision should be entertaining, and Alan Wake's largely isn't.
No, I made it
Alan Wake plenty entertaining.
Yeah.
I would say that Control's moment-to-moment action is better than Alan Wake's, but Alan Wake's a better game than Control. That's what I would
Alan
say.
Wake is a better game than Control, and Control has better action sequences. That's true. Those are both true statements.
I will also agree with both of those things, but I think Control is awesome.
I do not think Control is awesome.
But
I know you don't.
Back to Sid. Sid, thank you for the super chat. I would actually agree with Sid. It's it may lend itself to the character approach they seem to be taking with Alan Wake 2. I guess we will see here in a month, because we are not far
I hope
off.
Alan Wake 2 is not 28 hours long, right? I think that
I think they said 20. I think it's 20.
Make it 50. We'll meet in the middle.
No, it's funny. I like big epics. I like big JRPGs that are 100 hours long. I like Starfield, but I don't think an Alan Wake type game is necessarily made better by doubling its length.
Sorry, I had to type a comment. Shush said, "I want Red Dead 3 made by Ubisoft with endless chests," and that hurt.
Give me a map covered in icons too. It'd be great. Yeah. And
oh man,
ooh, in a single player game, just fills me.
Gotta
with joy.
love it. Gotta love it. All right, boys. I think that's going to wrap us up for today. On the season gaming side, we've talked about a lot. Check out the Motorfest review that's up now. Check out our Mortal Kombat review. We keep talking about Cast Co-op coming back. We've had too much going on. We are trying again for the fourth time, I think now. Fourth week in a row to come back this week. And then stay tuned. Off the top of my mind, I'm actually asking PR for some clarifications on the embargo on Phantom Liberty and the Cyberpunk discussion. That'll be coming soon as well. And then, I think that's good for SG side. Travis, hit us up. I know you got Payday 3 next, I believe, right?
Yes, Payday 3 is my next review. Actually, you can already read almost 2,000 words I wrote about Payday 3 based on the beta. It's a review in progress, and I'm going to start playing the rest of the game tomorrow and finish that review. In terms of timing on my review, just so you guys know, Payday 3's embargo rules are a little shady. They are insisting that we get a code tomorrow and that we're not allowed to write a scored review until the game fully releases, aka enters late access on Wednesday or Thursday. And so IGN has declined that embargo. We're not following it. We're just going to buy our own copy and write about it whenever we want. So my review, I can start talking about it right away. Because we're not agreeing to the embargo. And so I will probably have the review pretty quick, maybe Monday or Tuesday, because I've already written thousands of words about the game. And it's really just a matter of me playing the other heists, getting into the end game, trying out multiplayer. But I've already got a ton of time with that game, and I'm going to put more into it before finishing the review. But in terms of timing, you can kind of just expect it like probably Tuesday or Wednesday written, and then the video will come later because that just takes more time. But yeah, that should be a lot of fun. I love Payday. I also did a couple previews. 2 of them I can't talk about yet, which sucks because I really want to tell Hogue about one of them. And then Airport Sim went live on Friday. It is a airport simulator where you do a job on the tarmac of working at an airport. And the version I played was extremely buggy. So watch that preview if you want to see some hilarious things happen in a pretty buggy game. And then I've got some other stuff coming. Lords of the Fallen is around the corner and yada yada. But go ahead and watch the episode of Beyond if you want to see me back in the IGN studio hanging out with those guys. And keep it tuned to IGN or whatever.
I think you mean Season Gaming, but whatever. So Tide said we have a super chat that we missed, but I have nothing starred on my side. So I'm asking for clarification on that. While we're doing that, Hogue, please tell us what you got going on, sir.
Sure. Well, as I said at the top of this one, I think we're going to do weekly Hangouts and Headlines, and we'll probably do another Virtual Legality if something pops up like the big Unity engine fee structure question. So I'll be around. Hoeglaw YouTube channel. Check me out. Follow me on X or Twitter or whatever at Hoeglaw, where I'm usually just talking about sports at this point. But yeah, follow me on those. There'll be more episodes in my space, and I'll of course be back here next Sunday.
I got the super chat ins.
Do you? Yeah, literally, it's not on my
from
thing here.
God Emperor of Sofa King. Do y'all think there's a possibility of Square announcement porting Final Fantasy VII Remake at Xbox at Tokyo Game Show?
I found it.
So the internet will explode. There you go.
Sorry about that. First of all, for missing that. It did not. No, it did not pop up over here. It must have. So just so you guys are aware, when you super chat, right, it auto saves in a column over here on our broadcast software. So it makes it a little easier to manage where we can keep track of them. For whatever reason, did you do that, Hogue?
Oh yes, I was cleaning up the screen. I'm sorry.
I'm taking his admin stuff away. I finally found the super chat. I just scrolled through hundreds of comments. I found it, and he literally takes it off the screen.
I won't do that again. Sorry.
There you go. Anyway, so for whatever reason, this one didn't auto star for us. So sorry about that, Sofa King. Go ahead, Dan. Sorry. Oh, you already read it.
Calling him Sofa King.
Travis did.
Yeah,
Sofa King.
The $5 super chat from God Emperor Sofa King.
Okay.
Love it.
Yeah. So if for the reason people are asking about this is 2 things. One, if you read the fine print under Rebirth, it said cannot arrive on any other platforms until May 29th of next year, I believe was the actual date. So people are speculating that that's when it's going to release on PC or later next year, just like Remake did. Now, what other people are asking about is because of this kind of ongoing improvement, I guess you would say, in the Square Enix relationship with Xbox, people are continuing to wait to see if FF7 Remake ever comes over to Xbox. But I thought, correct me if I'm wrong, I thought that as part of the acquisition hearings, we saw some wording in the agreements that Sony had with some of these third-party companies. And I thought that the wording on Remake was that it was never to land on other consoles. I thought that was already discussed, but maybe I mixed something up there.
Yeah, I don't remember that, but it's possible. There were a lot of docs in that.
Yes,
there were. I sort of just assumed that this game is not coming to Xbox at any point in time. So if it is announced, that would be a surprise. But
I don't know that it's a contractual lockout, right? We've talked about this before. Square Enix tried to put some of their Final Fantasies on the Xbox ecosystem and was clearly dissatisfied with their money-making endeavors when that happened. So it might be that they're just keeping it off Xbox because they want to keep it off Xbox, not because they're contractually committed to.
Yeah,
I don't know.
It might not be worth the squeeze.
Yeah, I mean, like I think that's more likely than them being prohibited from bringing it over. But it is a popular game. The question is it popular enough to spend money on porting it?
Yeah. Yeah, I don't, maybe this is just me, and this is probably going to sound silly, but I saw Square announce 7 million copies of Final Fantasy VII Remake. The original, obviously not Rebirth, it's not out, but Remake have been sold since its release. And integrated, right? Exactly. Since 2020 when it released, and they sold 3.5 million at launch on PS only before it came to PC later. So I'm like, in the 3+ years since, including PC, they've only sold another 3.5 million copies, which is a lot of copies. I'm not saying it's not, but just anecdotally, it feels like FF7 Remake is way grander than that. It feels like 20 million people bought that game, which is just not the case.
Yeah, I mean, it's like the opposite of the Crew, right?
Yes.
We talked about the Crew 2 being a quiet success.
Quiet 21 million versus a vocal 7.
Final Fantasy 7 Remake is loud. This is what gamers talk about. But I don't think that it necessarily makes sense to bring over to Xbox. I certainly wouldn't mind either way. I think more people playing it, the better. But would the internet explode? The internet would explode. Would that mean big money for Square Enix? I'm not sure.
Definitely not.
Probably. Yeah, exactly. All right. Well, thank you. So I just like saying Sofa King, to be honest with you. So thank you, Sofa King. Appreciate the super chat. Sorry we missed it somehow, but we got there in the end. That's going to go ahead and wrap us up for Bitcast 265. Chat, you've been awesome as always. Thanks for hanging out with us on your Sunday. Thanks everyone for tuning in post-show as well. Like I said, we've had really, really high engagement the past few weeks, crazy numbers. So thank you so much. Just appreciate the comments, the likes, everything that you guys do. Tide, shout out to you again for the crazy AI pictures and the ongoing support. And great week in games. We've got plenty of those to look forward to over the next several weeks. So we will see you back here next Sunday. Hope you enjoy your week. Hope you have a good time. We will see you then. Peace.